After the death of the gods, anger wine was poured into the world. At the moment when the red moon appeared, most people went crazy. The world was in chaos. Many people died. A virus called spiritual pollution spread rapidly, constantly contaminating all living beings and causing mutations. Humanity was able to survive only under the protection of the wall. The male protagonist Xian-0, a metahuman, is the only miracle, contaminated but not mutated. He sealed away his painful memories. After that, he grew up like an ordinary person. There are 3 family members at home that others cannot see. During battles, Xian can borrow power from these family members. Dad is the embodiment of fear. He is irritable, quick-tempered, and loves to fight. Mom, who is kind and approachable, is a destiny observer. She has a pair of scissors that can cut the logic chain. Younger sister 17 is a spiritual entity created by schizophrenia. Spider metahuman likes toys. He has a habit of turning humans into toys. Since the arrival of the red moon, Xian has been in this city of suspicion and alienation, living a 9-to-5 life. Luckily, he still has a lamp called family to light up his life. Dad enjoys cooking delicious food at home. Every day, there seems to be an endless amount of ingredients that cannot be chopped up. Mom is on the phone by the window with a neighbor because someone criticized her clothes as being not good looking. The little sister obediently sits on the sofa watching cartoons. She keeps mentioning her brother. Why hasn't he come back so late today? Just off work, Xian bought the toy that her little sister likes the most and brought it home. 17 was very happy when she saw the teddy bear toy. Jumping up happily, she hugged the teddy bear in her arms. Mom hung up the phone at this moment. Ask Xian to play with her sister first. She had a little misunderstanding with the neighbor on the phone. She needs to go apologize to her. Then she picked up a pair of scissors and walked towards the neighbor's house. Shortly after, the newly bought teddy bear was torn open by the sister. She then roughly sewed it back together with coarse stitches. At the dining table, the sister gleefully raised it up high. Looking at this crooked little bear, the sister liked it even more than before. At this moment, Dad walked out of the kitchen with a bottle of wine, grumbling as he went. Suddenly, there was a loud police siren outside. Dad became irritated as soon as he heard it. He started yelling loudly down the stairs. The little sister, scared, clung to Xian's clothes. Just then, the mother, who went to apologize to the neighbors, happened to return. She was covered in a lot of blood again. Mom spoke up, telling Dad not to speak nonsense every day. Be careful not to scare the children. Fucking children, damn it. Everyone should die. You should die too. Dad looked at Mom angrily. Yes, everyone should die in your eyes. Only you shouldn't die. Because other people are doing better than you. Only you, like maggots in the sewer, are barely scraping by. But do you know? Even if they all died, you wouldn't. I was interrupted by an angry slap from my father before I could finish speaking. It seemed to have hit on something he feared the most. My mother, however, showed no fear. You incompetent raging waste. After hearing this sentence, Dad couldn't hold back anymore. His body began to grow. Dare you say I'm useless? I will slaughter you. A sudden angry punch exploded out. Seeing this scene, the younger sister trembled and curled up in the corner of the wall. But the next second, her mouth slowly curved into a smile. Fun, fun, so much fun. Excited, she instantly tore the teddy bear in her hand into 2 halves. Laughing uncontrollably, she quickly climbed up the wall. It's just too much fun. Xian sat on the side with a bowl of rice, seemingly accustomed to such chaos. Slowly eating the rice in the bowl. He thought that in this world tainted by the red moon, having a complete family is already very fortunate. However, at this moment, a mysterious organization is monitoring his every move. This is an ordinary and warm home. Mom had a little argument with Dad, but Dad interrupted it with a slap. Mom, however, was not the least bit afraid. She stood up and called him an incompetent, furious waste. Upon hearing these words, Dad's anger was instantly ignited. His body slowly grew larger. An angry punch suddenly burst out. Just 1 second ago, my sister still looked scared. The next second, she inexplicably became excited. It's so fun, really fun. Laughing wildly while shaking the chandelier. It's just too much fun. Brother Exion sat quietly on one side eating. He had become accustomed to the noisy family gatherings. However, someone was now monitoring his every move, seeing that the room clearly only had Exion alone. Actions resembling those made by multiple individuals seemed to be happening simultaneously. Data was suddenly detected at this moment. The 13th individual's psychic power, Observer, has manifested. A mysterious figure behind asked the short-haired girl, "Does she have the potential to be recruited? How big is the potential threat? What specific powers does he have?" The girl still can't figure out Exion. He doesn't seem like other mentally ill people. In the early stages, strong abnormal forms of mutation would have been evident. He looks normal. He can go to work normally every day. He can even handle work well. But occasionally there are mental disorders. It sounds like he has great potential and can be guided well. Have you tried letting a dream architect enter his dreams for assessment? The girl deeply exhaled a puff of smoke. But after the dream architect entered his dream, he never came out again. The next day, Exion arrived at the company as usual for work. Being enthusiastic, he was busy teaching the new employee how to do things. At this moment, Chief suddenly asked him to go to the office. Chief didn't have any extra words. He asked Exion to help him deliver this document to the cafe on the corner. Exion picked up the document on the table. Shouldn't it be someone from the administrative or miscellaneous department to deliver the document? How did they find me? Vaguely feeling that Chief is acting a bit strange today. At this moment, Exion noticed that there was a woman sitting on the sofa in the office, giving him a strange feeling. The girl suddenly made eye contact with him, which startled Exion. He quickly agreed to leave under the pretense of delivering documents. After Exion left, the chief smiled at the girl and offered his attentions. "Madam Chun, the matter you mentioned has been taken care of. The project you just discussed with me." It was not finished yet, but the girl interrupted directly. "Don't worry, this project will not bother you." She took off her sunglasses and slowly stood up. Chief froze for a moment. He thought he misheard. The girl suddenly leaned on the table, her eyes fixed on Chief. "Don't remember that I've been here, and don't remember assigning him anything." The girl's pupils seemed to be spinning, faintly turning red. Chief instantly fell into confusion. The words the girl just spoke kept repeating in his mind. The woman then put on sunglasses and walked away. Chief woke up and had already forgotten about the incident. It was as if it had never happened. The mysterious organization tested Exion's power. Asked the chief of the company to have him pick up a document. Go to the cafe on the corner. In the blink of an eye, Exion arrived at the Circular City high-speed railway station. At this time, the younger sister quietly climbed over the top of the carriage, still holding the patched-up teddy bear in her arms. The hanged man appeared in front of Exion. The body kept swaying, playing on the swing. Passengers in the carriage all feel the sway. Fortunately, the train is moving fast. The swaying noise inside the carriage is drowned out. "Brother, don't you want to play together? It's really fun. I can't watch you outside, let alone talk to you. I will be considered crazy." "No fun." 17 playfully stuck out their tongue at their brother, then leaned in close to Exion's ear. "Let him be careful, as there might be some issues with the place he is going this time." After saying that, he climbed away while laughing uncontrollably. Passed by a fat man who had fallen asleep. He mischievously pinched him before moving on. After getting off the bus, Exion realized that the place was already close to the wall. Arrived at the corner coffee shop, but can't see half a person around. Exion also doesn't know why he is standing here. There is a sense of oppression. Exion still doesn't know he is being watched. A tall building in the distance. The reconnaissance team is reporting to their superiors. Number 13, the target, has been entered by observer. Around the tall building, fully armed soldiers are hidden in the dark. At this moment, a person is holding a file from the cafe on the street corner. All of this is arranged by the short-haired woman in front of us. The purpose is to test Exion's potential and specific power. The coffee shop that Exion is going to has been confirmed as a Level 1 spiritual pollution area. People who have entered the coffee shop will die within 3 to 5 days. The cause of death is often suicide. She puts down the documents in her hand and asks the person next to her, "Is the support ready for deployment?" "Report, madam." The support team member, the doll, is currently ready. It can be deployed at any time. At this moment, a girl in a Western dress, exquisitely like a puppet, is sitting by the window. It is the doll, the team member preparing for support. Exion has already entered the cafe. Surprisingly, it's deserted outside, but packed inside. Arrived at the counter, Exion handed the documents to a waiter. The waiter didn't say anything. He smiled and poured a cup of coffee for Exion to drink. Exion was just about to refuse, but he was inexplicably drawn in by the fragrance emanating from the coffee. The flavor was completely different from the cheap coffee he usually drank at the office. Just as he picked up the coffee intending to finish it before leaving, a faint sound came to his ears. He woke up suddenly. When he looked up at the waiter again, clearly saw a large and ugly tentacle protruding behind him. The tentacle only slowly extended in front of Exion. The head of the tentacle slowly split open. A crimson substance dropped into the coffee in Exion's hand. Exion looked down. The substance in the cup suddenly opened its eyes, gazing at itself. The coffee in hand instantly became more aromatic, exuding an astonishingly seductive charm. People who enter this coffee shop will die within 3 days. It turns out that the coffee shop has been contaminated by a psychic virus. Exion looks at the eyes staring back at him from the cup. Fortunately, he regained his senses in time. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened. The waiter on the side smiled even more warmly, urging Exion to try it quickly. Looking at these hideous tentacles, Exion forced himself to stay calm. He must not let him know that I can see these things. "No need, thank you for your hospitality," he politely declined. He then turned and walked towards the exit. His heart couldn't help but beat rapidly. When he reached the gate, he stopped. Curiously, he turned back to take another look. Suddenly, he found that the whole store had fallen silent. Everyone stared at him, as if frozen in place. Exion immediately bolted without hesitation. Witnessing this scene, all the observers on the building in the distance were stunned. They couldn't believe he left just like that. Normally, a potential spirit mutant with unlimited potential would definitely trigger a violent conflict there. They had prepared 3 emergency plans in advance. But this particular situation was not anticipated. The woman with short hair immediately ordered to continue the testing. Make the 4th response plan right away. Exion, who had been running all the way, arrived at the subway station. The deserted subway station. There was only one elderly security guard dozing off. Exion felt as if he had escaped a disaster. Finally, he left there, thinking back to what he had just seen at the cafe. Why was it so eerie? It turned out 17 had known all along. That's why he had warned him on the high-speed train. Thinking about this, Exion decided to ask his family when he got back at night. They should know something. Just then, the subway station, which had been empty moments ago, now had people coming in one after another. More and more people were slowly approaching Exion's position. Exion then realized that something was wrong. He took a closer look and confirmed that these were the people from the cafe. How did they follow him here? Taking a closer look, behind the crowd appeared a familiar figure. It was the waiter from the cafe, still wearing a smile on his face. He presented the cup of coffee that Exion hadn't finished drinking just now. Slowly he said, "You haven't finished your coffee." Exion wanted to turn around and run away, but their way was blocked by them. The crowd closed in on him step by step. The waiter kept urging Exion to drink quickly. Otherwise, it would get cold. Exion quickly said he had no money. "Can't afford it." "Can't afford it? It's okay, I'll treat you." The eye in the coffee cup suddenly bounced up on its own and flew towards Exion's mouth. When trying to turn around and escape, they were firmly held down by the people beside them. A mysterious organization is monitoring this scene through surveillance screens. What's going on? He looks no different from an ordinary person. On the side, personnel are requesting instructions on whether to provide support. Shall we intervene? End this round of surveillance. The woman with short hair glanced at the doll next to her. Agreed to provide support. The doll slowly picked up the umbrella next to her upon receiving the order for support. Just then, there was a sudden intense fluctuation in the spiritual device data. At this moment, Exion's mouth was forcibly opened by someone. At a critical moment, a burst of laughter came from beside. Turning around, Exion saw his sister hanging on the signboard. Exion frantically called out, 17, save me! And saw that the eye was getting closer to the mouth. Exion felt despair descending upon him. At the critical moment, a cold little hand grabbed Exion's hand. In the blink of an eye, Exion began to undergo a transformation. He opened his bright crimson eyes. His moment of hunting has arrived. Activate. Having a broke-on little sister is quite an experience. The mentally deranged person chased Exion for 10 blocks, trying to forcibly invite him for coffee. Just before Exion was about to be contaminated, 17 lent her power to Exion. Exion's eyes instantly turned crimson. Brother is going to buy me the most fun toy. That's settled then. In an instant, Exion displayed bizarre movements, broke free from control, and crashed into the crowd. My sister became unusually excited and exclaimed, "So much fun! So much fun! Brother, let's go faster!" Exion's body suddenly accelerated, moving so fast that it was almost impossible to see clearly. Precise control over his body's power. This is Spider. A mysterious organization witnessed this scene through surveillance. He opened his mouth in surprise. The instruments are still detecting. The speed is estimated to be above 50%. Look at this data. The mysterious organization is both surprised and delighted. Isn't this initial potential catching up with the gecko in the organization? Not good. At this point, the instrument registered a severe fluctuation. The coffee server looked at Exion's agile figure and couldn't help but praise the fast speed. The smile on the face became even more sinister. You can't escape. Suddenly, a dense mass of tentacles erupted behind them. With a loud bang, the tentacles swiftly stabbed towards Exion. Let those tentacles be as fast and terrifying as they may. Still dodged Exion's physics-defying posture. In just a few seconds, he arrived at the exit. Surveillance has already seen Exion running out. The woman with short hair breathed a sigh of relief. It's over. Turning to look at the neighboring the doll, ordered to wrap things up. However, at this moment, a person in front of the screen looked surprised. Wait! Look at this. It seems not quite right. The people in the office all looked surprised at the scene before them. Exion, who should have been escaping from the subway station, did not leave directly. Instead, he hung upside down on the ceiling and beckoned to the approaching mutants. This appearance seemed very much like a provocation. The situation has already exceeded the expectations of the mysterious organization. In this world, there are only a few who can trap spider metahumans. They can't understand why Exion, when facing those monsters, didn't run away immediately but instead turned around to provoke them? The woman with short hair vaguely noticed that this 13th observer named Exion is not ordinary. In fact, Exion's instinct is to escape, but his younger sister forcefully held him back. Brother, why are you so scared? His younger sister smiled as she gestured to the waiter for fresh food with her finger. Clearly, he should be the one who is afraid. The waiter saw that Exion did not run away, but instead turned around in a provocative manner. He also smiled. The smile gradually distorted. In an instant, his body slowly tore apart, turned into thick, muscular tentacles. Each tentacle suddenly opened a big mouth, revealing sharp fangs. The sister became even more excited when she saw it. "Brother, look at how cute they are. I want to go play with them." The sister pulled Exion and swiftly rushed straight towards the monster. At this moment, the instrument shows that the mental power fluctuation has reached its limit. Observers are shouting softly. A level 1 psychic monster has appeared. She turned around and asked urgently, "Madam, do we need to go support him?" The woman with short hair hesitated to make a decision. Logically speaking, Spider, as a mutant, would be completely unable to deal with this spiritual monster without formal weapons. But he actually rushed towards the monster without any hesitation, under the fierce and dangerous attack of the waiter. Every strike was easily avoided by Exion. He rushed up to the waiter, grabbed his arm, and swiftly twisted it. The next second, the juice burst, and his arm was torn off abruptly. The waiter instantly let out a scream of agony. Watching Exion holding the arm, the sister laughed hysterically. Excitedly, she said, "It's been removed." At the same time, the surveillance camera at the subway station was completely destroyed by the invisible psychic power. The display screen's video signal disappeared in an instant. This left them without live intelligence. The woman with short hair gave the order immediately. "Quick! Take action right away." Everyone tensely stood up and moved. But at this moment, Exion appeared unusually excited. Not a trace of fear, but rather like a cat teasing a mouse, mocking the waiter. "Is it fun to lose a hand? Uh-huh." Before leaving, my sister also pretended to be mysterious. She said someone has their eye on you. Exion was scared and could only stay alert. He came to the street and prepared to blend into the crowd. Just as he thought everything was safe and he could relax a bit, he had just taken a step forward. Suddenly a woman's voice came from behind, calling his name. It was the short-haired woman. She was wearing a casual suit, exuding a wild temperament. "Come on board, I'll treat you to coffee." More coffee again. Exion turned back curiously to size up this woman, thinking to himself that at 23 years old, this was the first time a woman had taken the initiative to ask him out. Especially this kind of woman. His gaze involuntarily fixed here. But he still remained vigilant. Seeing that she did not seem hostile, it was also not good to refuse directly. Then quietly said, "Can I have something else instead? I am not interested in coffee right now." The short-haired woman was somewhat surprised by Exion's calmness. It was unexpected for her to remain so composed when faced with a stranger's invitation. Thinking of Exion's recent encounter, she opened the car door slowly. "Let's go to the bar." In a blink of an eye, the two arrived at a bar. The girl's name was Jing Chen, who spoke up directly to explain that she had no ill intentions. Then she showed her identification, candidly stating that she arranged what happened to Exion today. Exion glanced at the identification in her hand, and only then found out that she was the highest-ranking officer from the Oversight Department of Qingyang City. Unable to help it, he looked up at her. I thought to myself, with such a high status, why would she take the initiative to invite me for a drink? It turns out that from delivering the documents today to being attacked by the monster, it was all arranged by her. But suddenly, seeing a bulge at her waist, I knew it was a gun. Can only silently accept what happened today. Asked her calmly why she did this. Jing Chen did not directly answer the question. Let me open a bottle of wine and explain it first. I belong to a department that deals with exceptional transactions. We specialize in managing pollution incidents within the wall. Exion looked puzzled. She poured a glass of wine and continued. You can understand us as officials. After the Red Moon event, the reorganization of major main cities and satellite cities, dealing with and eliminating the lunatics outside the cities, the resistance from the wilderness riders and the spiritual sect, as well as the construction of the wall, are all being handled by their people. And Jing Chen is mainly dealing with it now. It is the infection event in the main city and the 5 major satellite cities. He handed a file to Xian, just like the situation you encountered in the coffee shop. You can take a look. Xian took the file. On the cover page of the file, he saw the words, Top Secret, printed. Opening it, he saw that it contained many records. The records showed that it was a level 1 psychic monster, capable of infecting any life form it comes into close contact with. It does not possess the power to infect from a distance, and can be eliminated by destroying the parasite of the psychic monster. The original host infected does not possess high intelligence. Jing Chen lit a cigarette. The Red Moon event caused over 70% of the people in this world to become lunatics. Those who survive can only live in the main city and satellite cities protected by the wall. But in reality, even the survivors are not all normal. Many people have undergone psychological mutations. They can have an impact on people or things around them. They call this situation contamination. This contamination will radiate to the surrounding area, affecting other people around them, causing them to exhibit the same symptoms. This type of mental contamination is different from regular pollution. It can cause mental illness in people. Some people may become depressed, commit suicide, lose their rationality, and attack people around them. Some may lose all communication with the outside world. Some may even have strong thoughts of hurting themselves. These people are different from the madmen outside the city. They are inside the city, living among us. They can erupt at any moment, just like those in the coffee shop. In total, there are 37 people who have been contaminated by the monster serving in the coffee shop and have completely lost self-awareness. The ultimate fate awaiting them is death. The mental monsters are just the source of contamination, and those infected by the monsters also pose a risk of spreading the contamination. Xian, the server who was killed in the subway before, is the original body of the contaminating agent. After his death, those deeply infected by him will flee in all directions. If one manages to escape, there is still a possibility that they may develop into a new source of contamination. Then, more people will be contaminated. Fortunately, the first-level psychic monster has low intelligence. The infected people will only act subconsciously, gathering around it. If one infected person is left outside, it can regenerate at any time. Xian stared straight at Jing Chen. Since it's so dangerous, are you still arranging for me to go in? Aren't you afraid I'll also get infected? His eyes unconsciously fixed on Chen Jin again. Jing Chen seemed to know that Xian would ask this question. You won't get infected. Or maybe you've been infected already. They set Xian in not to send him to his death, but for 2 purposes. One is to confirm Xian's power, and the other is to see if he will lose control. If he does lose control, there is a possibility that Xian might be killed on the spot by them when they catch him off guard. Xian looked at the document. His photo was on it along with various information such as his address. After the Red Moon Shining event, some people's mental powers are getting stronger, and you are one of the psychic abnormality. They are analyzing the power possessed by Xian. The first kind is precise control of the body by the mind. Their action team has a person with the codename Gecko. His control over his body has reached 80%, giving him unimaginable strength that surpasses ordinary people. He can dodge bullets with almost perfect control over various mechanisms, pass through openings as small as a teacup, and even climb walls ignoring gravity. Jing Chen finished speaking and looked at Xian. After observing, you also seem to possess a similar power. They call this power spider power. As individuals with mental anomalies, you both are easily able to detect the presence of mental monsters. So, you are very suitable for contamination cleanup work. Faced with Jing Chen's invitation, Xian showed a hint of hesitation. Would you be willing to have such a woman as your boss? Xian was initially unwilling. but they offered too much. Xian had to reluctantly accept the job. Xian, carrying 10,000 yuan, walked joyfully on the street. He kept walking until he reached the Red Moon Bright Elementary School before stopping. He skillfully untied the iron wire wrapped around the door. An old man who was reading a newspaper greeted him when he saw it was Xian. This elementary school only has one classroom, but in reality, it is a small orphanage named Red Moon Bright Elementary School. Xian walked to the window of the classroom and saw a girl in a wheelchair playing games with a dozen children. Xian couldn't help but say, "How childish!" Unexpectedly, this subtle comment was heard by the girl in the wheelchair. When she turned her head to look out the window, there was no one there. The girl thought she might be too sensitive and thought to herself that it probably wasn't him. Watching them having so much fun, Xian, who was hiding on the side, looked relieved. Xian did not disturb them and went to the side of the classroom. He put 10,000 yuan into the rusty mailbox. Worried that the girl in the wheelchair inside might not notice it, he picked a wild flower from the side and placed it on the mailbox. Then he quietly left the classroom. By the time he reached the gate, the old man seemed accustomed to it. "Just tell her directly. Every time plucking a flower and putting it there. I have worked hard to plant this pond of flowers. You are going to pluck them all." Xian smiled at him, walked out of Red Moon Bright Elementary School, couldn't help but sigh that feeling rich is really nice. He really needs money. Recalling the scene with Jing Chen at the bar an hour ago. Because he helped them deal with a spiritual monster, Jing Chen gave him a reward of $10,000. This made Xian, the model employee with a monthly salary of 1,000, pleasantly surprised. As long as you use your power wisely, you will no longer be short of money. This statement made Xian, who loves money, unable to resist being moved. He loves this sentence so much. There is a sudden feeling of happiness. Jing Chen caught his expression, quietly evaluating his love for money in her heart. The danger index can be reduced by 10%. Although Xian is quite curious about this job, he does indeed want to find a part-time job to do. After pondering for a long time, Xian said that he actually doesn't have power. His power was borrowed from his sister. Not just his sister, but also his parents. "We have always lived together." Jing Chen looked surprised. This sentence made her hair stand on end on the spot. When Xian revealed that his power came from a family secret, Jing Chen's hair stood on end. Because Xian's talking about a family member who doesn't exist. At this moment, a voice of urgency also came through the earpiece. "Colonel Chen, you must make the final assessment of him. If he really has serious symptoms of dissociative identity disorder, then he may be on the verge of losing control. We not only cannot absorb him, but we must eliminate him as soon as possible to prevent him from causing a major disaster. Don't forget the mysterious death of the dream architect who just entered Xian's dream for some assessment and died inside directly. And completely undetectable any mental residue. This situation has never occurred. Not even Professor Bai can determine the cause of her death." At this moment, Jing Chen's nerves are also tense all over. He even subconsciously placed his hand on the gun. She knows it well. The seemingly harmless young man in front of her hides what kind of madness. But it was difficult to discover. Such a potentially mental deviant. Jing Chen really couldn't bear to eliminate him. She wanted to try again. Just saw her pupils faintly turning red. Punctured his delusions on the spot. "According to the information they have, you have been living alone ever since the Moon Orphanage was destroyed. Your father, mother, and sister all don't exist. They are just figments of your imagination. Not only them. Even the old building you live in. You live there alone." After Jing Chen finished speaking, he was already ready to act. If he finds out the truth and loses control, then there will be no reason to keep him this time. But unexpectedly, Xian was surprisingly calm. "I have long discovered that others cannot see them." Speaking of which, Xian suddenly laughed. He can not only see them, but also have meals and chat with them for 3 days. Can such a family that appears to protect me in times of danger be said not to exist? Urgent request coming from the earpiece, Madam Chen. The armament equipment is ready. Please make the final assessment. She did not respond there, but she wanted to ask Xian the last sentence. If all your power comes from your family, can you guarantee that they will not influence you? Xian slowly responded, Actually, you don't need to worry. My family members are all very good people. My younger sister is a lovely child. She likes toys and enjoys running around and playing. My father enjoys cooking. He is honest and always stays in the kitchen. My mother is very gentle. She never argues with anyone and only likes to reason with people. They won't casually control my body. After listening, Jing Chen feels extremely complex in his heart. This person is too normal. He is actually describing several completely non-existent people in a very serious and normal state. Xian, walking on the street, sighed. Although Jing Chen's last look seemed a bit distrustful, making money is all that matters. Everything else is not important. At this moment, Jing Chen drove up to him. The decision was made to recruit Xian, but only on a temporary basis. Conversion to permanent status will be contingent on observation and assessment. Present a document to Xian and ask them to sign it if they agree. Seeing a monthly salary of 5,000 yuan during the probation period, Xian immediately agreed, thinking it was a good deal. Jing Chen explained some job responsibilities and hoped that Xian would be well prepared. Due to the investigation and cleanup of special pollution sources, there is a risk of death at any time, and there is even a possibility of becoming part of a monster. After the Red Moon incident, every normal person deserves to be cherished and protected, including you, of course. What exactly happened to Sister 17? It's what made her develop such an extreme personality of enjoying torturing people. Jing Chen mentioned the risk of joining the Special Pollution Cleanup Department. Xian, after listening, became even more determined to sign up, which surprised Jing Chen. It turns out that Xian, when he was at the orphanage before, was told by the director that after the Red Moon incident, there were fewer and fewer people left in the world. Order collapses. Civilization regresses. If the remaining people continue to fight each other, then we will never be able to return to the past. Although Xian does not know what his previous life was like, but he feels that what the dean said must be right. Jing Chen smiled after listening and didn't say anything more. Picked up a box from inside the car and handed it to Xian. Opened it and found an ID, a satellite phone, as well as a left-S pistol and 2 boxes of bullets. Jing Chen said the only saved number in the phone is hers. This makes Xian's heart skip a beat. It makes him feel like he's been bought by the female boss. Before leaving, Jing Chen asked him to stay away from pollution incidents. When you return, remember to take good care of yourself. Do not easily use your power. If you encounter trouble, you can directly call her, or use that standard firearm to deal with it. After listening, Xian seems to have some understanding. Jing Chen is afraid that there will be a risk of losing control if he uses power. Walking on the road. Money-minded Xian is already calculating the accounts in his mind. 5,000 fixed every month. There is also 1,000 from the company. Monthly income is 6,000. The reward for eliminating first-tier spiritual monsters is 30,000. Second tier is 300,000. Xian is so greedy for money. It's all to fund Red Moon Elementary School, and also to cure the girl named Xiao Lu who is sitting in a wheelchair. At this time, Xian's younger sister came to call him home. His parents are waiting for him to come back home for dinner. Xian happened to want to ask 17 to help him work and earn money using his sister's power. His sister didn't see any sincerity in her brother, looking like she was about to leave. Xian hurriedly asked 17 what toy she wanted. He tried to find a way to buy it for her. However, 17 was pointing under the street lamp at a drunken man. She came to Xian's side and said, "I want that type of toy. I like toys that can move and talk. I like those complete toys." because only when they are complete can they be torn open and sewn back together again. So much fun. 17's eyes shine brighter as they speak. Their expression carries a hint of eerie excitement. As long as you give me this, I'll agree to whatever you want. Uh-huh. Exian listened and squatted down. In a soft voice, she said to 17, "Sister, stop harming others so easily. It's against the law." 17 suddenly fell silent. Really? Harming others is against the law? Then why can others harm me? 17 laughed in a somewhat cruel manner, with a hint of pain in her eyes. If you don't want me to hurt others, then treat yourself as a toy. It's also okay to let me play with you for a while. Exian didn't respond, nor did he refuse. 17's sharp fingers slowly reached towards his back. The fingertips were delicate and sharply clawed, possessing an invisible power. They represented everything she wanted to tear apart in her heart. 17 stretched out his hand slowly towards Exian's back. The invisible magic in her mind made her want to tear everything apart. She tore open her clothes, gently caressing Exian's back. There was a long scar. It looked particularly ferocious and terrifying. One can imagine the extent of the damage it caused back then. How heavy it was. 17 snuggled in Exian's arms. Does the scar on brother still hurt now? At this moment, she seemed like a simple little girl. Her petite body was trembling lightly. Brother has always been a fool. When others hurt me, only you would rush over to protect me. Exian gently pushed 17 aside, revealing a doting expression. Little sister, do you know that I am different from before now? She happily shared with her little sister the news that she had found a new job. A message of having money now. Although I cannot give you toys like that. But I can take you to buy other toys. Buy whatever you like. Just tell me what 17 wants to buy, okay? The little sister's tear-stained face broke into a smile. She nodded vigorously, as if she had suddenly forgotten her sadness from earlier. 17 happily held Exian's hand as they arrived at the street. Together, they played with a doll machine at the doll. They bought things from one end of the street to the other. Exian bought everything that his little sister liked. In no time, Exian was carrying a big pile of toys, including the doll. Because others couldn't see 17. Pedestrians on the street commented on Exian's strange actions. The two of them listened but didn't take it seriously. At the same time, they turned around and made a funny face at them. Since the family secret was revealed, Exian no longer cares about the strange looks from others. He took his sister to a bridge by the river. 17 excitedly tore apart the toys one by one, then he scrambled them back together in a mess. She tore them up with gusto, a satisfied expression on her face like never before. Red Moon was happening at the moment. Exian leaned on the railing nearby, quietly watching her younger sister. 17 suddenly turned around, genuinely smiling for the first time. I'm very happy, brother. Seeing her sister satisfied, Exian smiled and asked, Will you lend me your power then? 17 stood up. My silly brother, don't you know? Actually, you can forcefully use my power, you know? I know, but I still need your permission. After hearing this, the younger sister was stunned for a moment. It was a feeling of being needed. A genuine smile suddenly appeared on her twisted face. She reached out her delicate palm to Exian. When you need me, I will be by your side. Exian also extended his hand earnestly, lightly touching his little sister's hand. The two seemed to have made a pact. What exactly did Exian's mother do to make his fierce yet kind father so wary? Jing Chen's colleagues felt a bit rushed when she included Exian in the action group, especially before confirming his risk of losing control. However, Jing Chen remained firm in her judgment. She claimed that after going back, she would report to Professor by alone. On the other end of the earphones, there were continuous voices of doubt and denial. Jing Chen impatiently yanked off her earphones. A bunch of armchair strategists. So much talk. Isn't it just to say that Exian is a schizophrenic lunatic? But who among those recruited now is normal? Exian only showed spider power in the cafe incident, without the psychic power, detected at his house before. There is a video taken previously in the subway station in her car. If shown to the testing group, Xion's risk assessment will definitely exceed 80%. Even 90%. Once it exceeds 90%, Xion will be cleared at any time. But Jingchen still firmly believes in the decisions he has made now. There are too many unstable elements. Mining company, the technological church, the wild knights, and those spiritual monsters hidden among the crowd. The wall can't hold on for much longer. Qi Gang is not facing the problem of whom to choose now. There is no choice. Only a madman can fight against monsters. The next morning, Xion was having breakfast with his family. When his mother learned that Xion had a new job, she gently mentioned that there would be a gift for him after breakfast. A gift specially prepared for his new job. Dad stepped out of the kitchen at this time. He grumbled as he walked toward Xion. Knowing that he was being used, he still had to rush there. The most useless one is you. You don't even know when you're being fooled. In my opinion, you should just kill them all. Do you know that they almost killed you yesterday? Dad's face was fierce and kind as he pointed at 17. If it wasn't for her, you would have been killed by them long ago. They almost killed you. Why do you still want to help them? Xion thought that his dad was right. What they did at the coffee shop was indeed wrong. But they pay, and they pay a lot. This statement caught his dad off guard, leaving him momentarily speechless. He grabbed Xion's collar in anger. How could there be such a waste like you? Before the fist the size of a casserole dish could strike Xion, it was interrupted by a sudden splash of porridge to the face. It was Xion's mother who threw it. The gentle mother suddenly turned cold and said, "The real waste is you. If it weren't for your incompetence and temper, how could we all end up trapped here?" Dad seems to have been hit in a sore spot. Angry, he shouted out loud. A punch was about to attack Mom. But this time, Mom seemed unwilling to argue with him. She just gently raised 2 fingers. Dad, who was furious, suddenly stopped. "What are you doing with this gesture?" Dad even lowered his voice, looking very cautious. Mom smiled gently. "You understand. So if you're scared, just roll back to me." The angry father finally could only vent his anger at the table in front of him. He went crazy smashing things in the house until it was a mess. Only then did he grumble and retreat back into the kitchen. You would never imagine what happens when a person takes off their glasses. How attractive they can be. Mom found out that Xion is going to work in the action group on the first day. I gracefully helped Xion dress up. Mom, who has a very high aesthetic sense, took a look and still wasn't satisfied. After carefully examining it, she found the problem. He approached softly and gently helped Xion take off her glasses. Xion suddenly looked completely different. Her attractiveness was obviously hidden by the glasses. It seems like Xion is dressing up like this for the first time, and she still feels a bit uncomfortable. Xion gently said thank you to her mom. Just now, she also helped him out of the crowd. Mom smiled at the silly child. "We are all family. There is no need to say thank you. You are so honest and never harm others. But if someone wants to bully you, then our whole family will go find him together." Mom still smiled very gently and considerately. Xion first came to the previous company to work as usual. Then it was time to get off work on time. Colleagues started to discuss. Wasn't he always the one who stayed overtime the latest? This scene happened to be seen by the company chief. After leaving the company, Xion took 17 to patrol the streets. Although Jing Chen told him to wait for instructions and obey commands. But he still wants to search for opportunities on the streets and strive to have his salary doubled as soon as possible. Since the Red Moon incident, most people inside the wall are in a daze. After walking around, there was nothing unusual. He thought that if the city continued to be so normal, there would be no use for him. Worried that Jing Chen will revoke his subsidy. Without it, he won't have extra income. 17 is on the side eating ice cream while joking around. He sighed deeply. Holding a monthly salary of 5,000 and nothing to do. If there's a chance to perform well, after probation, he can earn tens of thousands in just 1 month. In the following days, he repeated going to the street for inspection after work until it was time. Until this day. Because he stepped into the company with his left foot forward, the chief fired him. When the company is about to lay off someone, even breathing is considered wrong. They even help pack things up ahead of time. At this time, colleague Sun explained. The items were exactly what Xian had taught before. Those were picked up by the newcomer. Xiao Lu, you are too honest. Teaching everything to others. Now others turn around and take your job. This is too bully. Xian reached into the backpack and felt for the gun inside. Thinking of what Jing Chen had said before. If life encounters problems, you can either call her directly or use firearms to handle them. He, who is a bit silly, thought for a moment. He felt that it was probably not yet the time to use the gun. After some consideration, he decided to call Jing Chen to talk about it. On Jing Chen's side, she saw that it was a call from Xian. Suddenly felt a wave of nervousness. Soon she calmed down and answered the phone calmly. She asked Xian if something had happened. Xian had her first conversation with her boss. She tried to be as polite as possible and earnestly explained that there was a problem on her end. Jing Chen suddenly stood up from his chair when he finished listening. He thought there was a monster appearing. Nervously, he inquired about what the problem was. For a moment, everyone in the office became alert. Xian seemed to sense a strange atmosphere on the phone. Hastily, he explained that he always finished work on time each day, then went patrolling the streets. But suddenly, his company wanted to dismiss him. Jing Chen fell silent as if in death after hearing this. After a while, Jing Chen questioned, "Patrolling?" It wasn't until Xian explained everything that she roughly understood. It turned out it was just for this little matter. Let them have a false alarm. She helplessly supported her forehead and asked Xian to wait for a while. Hang up the phone. Xian thought since Jing Chen asked him to wait for a while, he should be able to help him with it. At this time, 17 slowly approached Xian. "Brother, will that woman really help you? Or let me turn them into toys instead? Is that okay? They dare to bully you. Shouldn't we just kill them all? Mother will definitely be happy to help with this matter. Perhaps father will also help you. Ha ha. Having a strong backer is really good." Seeing Xian being bullied, 17 couldn't help but want to kill them all. 5 minutes ago, Xian was inexplicably dismissed by the chief. In desperation, he made a phone call to Jing Chen. In less than a moment, the chief actually came running to beg Xian to come back. Because this matter directly alarmed the people in the main city over there. Even the chairman directly prepared a project, specifically appointing Xian to be in charge. Although Xian doesn't know what happened in the middle, this job is considered saved. Even the one who tried to steal his job, LV Chung, who is also Chief's daughter Xiuqing's boyfriend, had to come before him to apologize. LV Chung still has not changed his thieving ways. Upon hearing that Xian has a new project, he shamelessly asked Xian if he could work on it together. Xian may be confused about other matters, but when it comes to money, he is especially clear-headed. Just look at Chief's expression. This looks like a big project. If it succeeds, there should be a lot of bonuses. He immediately rejected LV Chung. At this moment, the phone in Xian's backpack suddenly rang. Chief heard it, and cleverly walked away. People related to the main city. The background was beyond what he could have imagined. Xian answered the phone. The voice of Jing Chen came from the other end. He knew it was Jing Chen who helped him solve the issue. Xian thanked her. Jing Chen curiously asked Xian why he needed to go on patrol. Apparently, this question made Xian a little surprised. Isn't spending money on you guys to make me do this? Otherwise, I feel a bit guilty holding on to this money. Jing Chen sighed. Since you are so enthusiastic about your work. That's perfect. There is something that needs you to take care of. Jing Chen just had Borgo Technology provide transportation services for Xian's company. I want to take this opportunity to let Xian have some dealings with Qin Ran, the boss of Sifong Transport. Recently, there have been at least 7 or 8 cases related to this Sifong Transport company. Let Xian go and take a look. Find out whether this case is simply a murder or something else. Whether it's murder or contamination. It is very dangerous for ordinary people. But with your power, you should be able to handle it. There will be rewards regardless of the investigation results. He became interested when he heard about the rewards and readily agreed. Arriving at the company, he saw that his things had all been put back in place, including the banner. Looking at LV Chung beside him, he started to calculate in his mind, thinking about what Jing Chen had just said about the project being dangerous for ordinary people. He came to LV Chung and thought for a moment. I think you should help me with this project, he said. After that, they set off. Xiao Qing was responsible for driving, while LV Chung was in charge of reporting. For Directions Transport Company is one of the largest freight companies in the North City. The boss is a woman surnamed Chen. Brother Xiao Lu, are we sure we want to contact them? Xian listened and secretly thought to himself. For Directions Transport Company is probably not as simple as it appears on the surface. The roads outside the high city walls are severely damaged, with obstacles everywhere. There are also crazies, who cannot be completely cleared roaming outside the city. In addition, there are refugees and mercenary night bands who survive by looting resources. There are also many unexpected dangers. Those who dare to transport goods outside the city are quite tough and resourceful. From the information provided by Jing Chen, many hidden truths can be seen. Therefore, it can be concluded that this woman surnamed Chen is just a puppet. The real boss should be a person from the wild, named Qin Ran. The business of this Quadrant Corporation is probably more than just transporting goods. A person born in the wild is definitely not simple. And they are unlikely to be honest. Yes, just find them. After all, not many dare to take on transportation business outside the city now. The car quickly arrived at Sifong Transport Company in the northern part of the city. They were greeted by a young man with half of his head shaved. Along the way, the people on the roadside cast cold glances at them, scrutinizing them up and down. Arriving at the manager's office, Xian asked LV Chung and the others to go in and meet with the manager first to discuss. He went outside to check out their company's car. Xian walked around outside. Jing Chen said that there were 7 or 8 lives here, but wasn't sure if there was contamination. After all, this group of people are all involved in shady businesses. Loss of life should be a common occurrence as well. Xian noticed at this moment. There were some things around the truck that looked like bloodstains. Just as he crouched down to take a closer look, suddenly heard cries for help from LV Chung and Xiao Qing in the distance. Quadrant Corporation is really powerful. Will Xian be afraid of them when facing threats? Just when Xian discovered something like bloodstains on the truck, suddenly heard a cry for help. At this moment, Lu Qing was surrounded and being kicked and beaten by a group of people. Xiao Qing was crying on the side, begging them not to hit anymore. But they seemed to have no intention of stopping. Xian, who had just arrived, looked puzzled at the scene. Xiao Qing just spoke. She and LV Chung felt that their offer was too high. They wanted to negotiate a lower price. As a result, they directly resorted to violence. They have too many issues with their financial accounts. We cannot cooperate with them. Xiao Qing, who still wanted to say more, suddenly interrupted by a slap. Bitch. Who are you saying has a lot of issues? It's not because you are talkative that I want to hit you. Seeing this scene, Xian felt a moment of satisfaction in his heart. Intentionally slowing down his pace, he walked over, allowing them to beat LV Chung a bit more. He also asked with a smile on his face, "How did the fight suddenly start?" The bald, scar-faced man recognized that Xian was the leader. You called and said you needed a car. The car and driver were all arranged for you. Now suddenly you are backing out. Do you want to work with us? Everyone is struggling nowadays. If you refuse to cooperate, don't blame us for being impolite. After speaking, he picked up a contract and asked Xian to sign it. Hurry up, pay the money, and start working. It benefits everyone. Xian was silent for a moment. Then he spoke up. The contract definitely cannot be signed like this. Unexpectedly, the scar-faced man responded with a cold laugh after hearing this. This young manager has quite a tough head. The people around then walked up with ambiguous smiles, surrounding Xian in the middle. They seemed to be planning to use strong-arm tactics for a forced purchase or sale. Xian remained calm and composed. He drew a revolver from his bag and pointed it at them. The people around were all stunned for a moment. Obviously, no one had expected Xian to have a gun, but immediately after there was a burst of laughter and teasing. No one had expected that there would be someone with a gun inside the building. Some people around have quietly drawn out weapons, daring to do so. They just don't believe that the gun in Xian's hand is real. Instead, they are mocking Xian, saying, "Brother Xian, is your gun even real?" At this moment, a young man with green hair took advantage of the distraction, holding a rusty knife, suddenly charging towards Xian from behind. Alert Xian noticed and without hesitation, pulled the trigger at him. After a gunshot rang out, everyone on the scene was shocked. He dared to shoot. That's a real gun. After firing a shot, Xian immediately turned the gun around, pointing at a woman standing behind the crowd. You all have noticed too. My gun is serious. The woman is precisely the one named Chen. She pushed through the crowd. We also have the gun, just not prepared in advance. This time we admit defeat. Let you go today. If you dare to open fire in the wall where firearms are strictly monitored, if the guards don't catch you, we'll meet again in the Jianghu. On the side, LV Cheng and Xiao Qing were terrified, and their legs went weak when they saw Xian fire the gun. However, Xian had no intention of leaving. I'm not going. We haven't finished our business yet, he said. The woman surnamed Chen was stunned. At this moment, you still want to discuss business with me? Xian smiled. Yes, but we need to negotiate the price. It can't be that whatever you say goes. It has to be fair. At that moment, a man with a face full of stubble and a cigarette dangling from his mouth slowly pushed through the crowd and walked out. Dare to point at my woman and talk business with me. This is the first time I've encountered this. He stared straight at Xian with his eyes. This person is Qin Ran. Qin Ran dares to point a gun at Xian. 17, the younger sister, does not agree. Xian just insisted on staying and refused to leave. She wanted to continue talking about business. Suddenly, a tall and sturdy man appeared in the field. It was Qin Ran, the boss behind the Four Corners Transport Company. Seeing Qin Ran, people around inexplicably tensed up and subconsciously lowered their heads. The woman surnamed Chen wanted to say something else, but Qin Ran waved her off, indicating that she didn't need to speak. He waved to Xian in front of him. Put down the gun. I'm not looking for trouble from you today. Later, he called Xian to go to his office to talk. Just as they entered the office, Qin Ran started eating and drinking without paying attention to anyone else. Xian did not rush to speak either. Subconsciously, he looked at how much Qin was eating, which was quite a lot. There is a food shortage outside the city. Hunger is a common state for people in the wilderness. They can only achieve warmth and satiety by coming to the wall. Coming here means less trouble. Everyone follows the rules. Let's give in to each other. Then, everyone can continue to live on, right? Xian dares to do business with guns inside the wall. It seems not simple. Don't beat around the bush. Ask directly who sent you. What is your purpose? Xian is not hiding anything. He took out the information given by Jing Chen. Are you Qin Ran? Have you encountered some strange things? Qin Ran thought that those strange things were accounted for by Xian. He angrily pulled out his gun and aimed it at Xian, saying, "What are you trying to do? If you don't speak up, I will blow you up today." At this moment, a dark figure appeared silently in the sky with a playful laugh. It was 17, who came up behind Qin Ran, revealing a hint of a sinister smile. Jing Chen instructed Xian to investigate Qin Ran. However, he did not mention how to conduct the investigation. The most time-saving and efficient method is to get straight to the point. He told Qin Ran that it was not him who plotted against him. "I am here to investigate if you have had any recent issues." "Investigate my issues? Are you from the Ministry of Public Security?" At this moment, Qin Ran's eyes looked exceptionally fierce. His spirit was also on the verge of collapse. Thinking that now couldn't stimulate him. Otherwise, there's no guarantee that he won't really shoot. Xian hurriedly said he is not. Let Qin Ran not be nervous. Later, he also glanced at 17. 17 received it. Suddenly, he reached out and pulled Qin Ran's hand. Qin Ran was caught off guard. The gun in his hand slipped away at once. It flew straight towards Xian. This sudden scene made Qin Ran break out in a cold sweat, nervously looking around, but not seeing anyone. Then he stared firmly at Xian. "How did you do it?" His voice was trembling. Xian smiled and said, "Don't ask anymore. Even if you ask, you won't be able to learn it. Can you tell me now? Have you encountered anything strange? If you need, I can remind you. For example, those several lives." Faced with a calm Xian Qin Ran sitting in front of him, he felt inexplicably flustered by the questions. This kid looks honest and straightforward, but why is his presence so strong? Moreover, Xian took the gun as well, making him nervous. But after the panic subsided, he gradually became excited. Fuck. It turns out someone understands these things. I knew I couldn't be the only one encountering them. Qin Ran stared at Xian with red eyes. I encountered someone seeking revenge on me. And it's no ordinary revenge. It's the kind of revenge that no one would believe if I told them. He is indeed involved in more than just the transportation business. He is into all sorts of shady dealings. It all started with a transaction involving a packet of Little Bear pills that day. He was trading with a person named Chui Wang from the western part of the city at the time. But on that day, unexpectedly, Chui Wang showed up alone for the transaction. He, Qin Ran, is not a good person either. He directly took advantage of Chui Wang, engaging in unethical activities. He even dismembered Chui Wang into pieces and fed them to wild dogs. But he didn't expect. The next day, a woman suddenly appeared. Qin Ran did not know her, but she claimed to be called Chui Wang. She demanded Qin Ran to pay with his life. However, Qin Ran had no idea what this woman was up to. He mistakenly thought she was Chui Wang's lover and ended up killing her. The corpse was lying right there in that block of cement. I sent someone to check. It turns out that woman is from the South City. I don't know Chui Wang from the West City at all. But this is not the weirdest part yet. The weirdest part is still to come. 2 days later, someone else came to the door. He also claimed to be Chui Wang. How ruthless is this person? Dealing with others directly and engaging in shady dealings. Afterward, he dismembered Chui Wang into several pieces. He fed them to wild dogs. However, the next day, a woman claiming to be Chui Wang came looking for him to avenge his death. Qin Ran didn't think much and also got rid of her. After investigation, it was found that the woman's name is Wang Ting. She is from the south of the city. She didn't even know Chui Wang from the west of the city. Since that day, bizarre things have been happening constantly. 2 days after Wang Ting's death, 2 people came to the door again. One middle-aged person and a 17 or 18-year-old beggar. One claimed to be Chui Wang, and the other claimed to be Wang Ting. Without saying a word, they both attacked Qin Ran. Qin Ran, being a ruthless person, killed these 2 people too. The results of the investigation afterwards were the same as before. These 2 people actually didn't know Chui Wang or Wang Ting at all. So far, there have been 4 people who died at the hands of Qin Ran. Pandora's box was opened. 4 days later, 4 more people suddenly arrived. They went straight into Qin Ran's house and started tearing at Qin Ran's body like madmen. The 4 individuals claimed to be Chui Wang, Wang Ting, a middle-aged person, and a beggar. Xian on the side was thinking, could these 4 people also end up being killed by him? But Qin Ran was obviously scared. It was too spooky, so he dared not continue killing. He locked up the 4 of them. But then it became sinister again. Qin Ran didn't know how to tell Xian. He directly brought him to the place where the 4 people were detained. Just as he opened the door, a foul smell of decay hit them. Xian plucked up his courage and looked inside. He saw that the 4 people were already dead, leaving only decaying bodies. Xian remained calm as usual, without showing any signs of being frightened. Qin Ran couldn't help but admire him. When he saw this scene, even someone as brave as him was quite scared. Originally, he wanted to keep these 4 people here and interrogate them thoroughly to find out who was plotting against him. Unexpectedly, before he could start the interrogation, these 4 lunatics started eating each other. Qin Ran eventually felt too disgusted to watch and ended up shooting them all. This was the first time he had ever shot and killed someone with a gun, and he still felt like he was doing a good deed. Xian gave a brief review of this strange incident. The trouble started with Chui Wang. The first day 1 came for revenge. The second day 2 came. He suddenly woke up at this thought. After inquiring, he learned that it had been 7 days since they last came. Tomorrow will be the 8th day. According to the previous pattern, won't they be coming again soon? Realizing that the situation is not simple, Lu Xian immediately took out his phone to report to Jing Chen. At this moment, Qin Ran suddenly raised a hatchet and held it against his neck. Worried that Xian might take advantage of this opportunity to plot against him. Xian, however, remained completely calm. He expressed that he could leave at any time. But what about you, Qin Ran? If 4 of them come, you're not afraid. If 8 come, you're not afraid. What about 16 of them? They initially came to find you here. But the 3rd time, they went straight to your house. Have you ever thought that no matter where you hide, they can still find you? Qin Ran was obviously starting to panic after hearing this. His emotions became even more agitated. Perhaps a few dozen may not mean much to you, Qin Ran. If they continue to grow exponentially, will you be able to handle it at that time? Theoretically, will there be a day when everyone in the world will pursue you? And these people are not afraid of death or injury. They can even find you no matter where you are. It will continue indefinitely. They won't stop until you're dead. Qin Ran finally spoke. The businesses he is involved in are all in a gray area. If reported to the Security Bureau, the consequences are predictable. He doesn't want any trouble. Xian looked at the 4 people below. He would rather take his chances with opening up new land than end up dead or eaten by someone. Qin Ran struggled internally for a while. In the end, he chose to trust the axe in Xian's hand and slowly put it down. Then Xian turned around and dialed Jing Chen's phone number, putting on a look of flattery. When Jing Chen received Xian's report on Qin Ran's situation, it can be confirmed that this is a case of spiritual pollution incident. Immediately mobilize a 3-person team. Move to rendezvous with Xian. Considering that this is Xian's first command mission, Jing Chen will be behind the scenes helping him lead. Money lover Xian also wants to address the issue of compensation. Jing Chen has already hung up the phone on the other end. A team of 3 people quickly drove to Xian's location. The leader is a squad captain named Cheng Hui. Stand straight in front of Xian. I have come to meet Mr. Xian on the orders of Colonel Chen. Cheng Hui handed a communication device headset to Xian. The headset made a sound as soon as it was put on, followed by an electronic connection prompt. The next sound that came up was a soft, sweet voice. Hello, Mr. Xian. Information Analysis Team member Han Bing is here to provide information support for you. from the report provided by Mr. Xin. This may be a new type of spiritual pollution event. Han Bing gives 2 suggestions. Identify the source of pollution, and then clean it up or imprison Qin Ran. Collect clues after the contaminated individuals arrive. Even when necessary, you can choose to send Qin Ran to the other party to cut off their logical chain. Xin was obviously surprised, sending Qin Ran to the Avenger to be killed. This is also an option? At this time, the earphone suddenly rang with the voice of Jing Chen. She detailedly helped Xin explain the mode of the information analysis team, even teaching Xin that sometimes it is okay to first meet the needs of the pollution sources is also a good way to weaken the pollution sources. However, at present, there is insufficient information about this pollution incident. It is not accepted for now. According to the current data analysis, those deceased individuals did not know each other, but they were all contaminated. This indicates that their routes must have intersected during their lifetime. Han Bing has reached a conclusion at this moment. The point where they intersected may be the source of the contamination incident. It is recommended to investigate the routes of those deceased individuals during their lifetime. But Xin feels that conducting individual investigations will take too long. Tomorrow will be the 8th day. According to the previous pattern, it is very likely that more people will get infected. Jing Chen also agrees with Xin's opinion. After all, dealing with spiritual pollution sources, efficiency is crucial. The method proposed by Han Bing takes too long. During this time, the pollution source may mutate again. In the end, Jing Chen decided to narrow down the analysis, targeting the first contaminated person, Cui Wang, and investigating his movements before his death. Under the orderly allocation of Jing Chen, all departments act swiftly and begin to take action. A few hours later, Han Bing reported to the action team. They found 4 target locations. Just received the exclusion report. No abnormalities were found at the first 3 locations. We are left with the last investigation location, the pond at the edge of the city's south. Soon, Xin, along with the Chenghui team, quickly drove to the south pond. Xin felt something was wrong as soon as she got out of the car. 17 had not shown up all night, but here she was unusually excited, happily calling for her brother to come quickly, saying there was something fun here. Xin was very familiar with 17. Her child's sense of aesthetics had always been different from others. Watching 17 staring intently at the lake, Xin quickly asked if there was something in the lake. 17 replied that she didn't know, but felt it was something fun to play with for a long time. Xin asked if 17 could use her powers in the water. 17, at this moment, could hardly contain her excitement and replied that she had never tried but wanted to give it a shot. With a smile, the unpredictable nature of life and death. Seeing 17's excited look, Xin knew there must be something suspicious under the pond. The Chenghui team used mental detection devices to scan the shore, but found no residual spirits. These high-tech devices were just introduced to Xin by Jing Chen. But what puzzles Xin is, the younger sister is squatting nearby. But there is no response from these devices. She can't really be a split from me, right? Chenghui came to report on the situation of the investigation. Currently, only the lake bottom has not been inspected. The problem now is that their protective suits are not waterproof. It would be very dangerous for them to approach the source of contamination without their protective suits on. Xin smiled and told them to wait here. He went down first to take a look. Seeing Xin warming up, Chenghui was suddenly surprised. He realized that Xin was going to dive into the water. After confirming with Han Bing again, Jing Chen made sure that this lake was the last suspicious location remaining. At this moment, Xin was determined to perform well. Suddenly, a voice message from Jing Chen came through her earphones, expressing concerns about the dangerous underwater operation. Jing Chen, who cared especially for Xin, did not want Xin to take any risks. She immediately called for the special support team, requesting them to arrive on the scene within half an hour. She resolutely stated to drain the lake water and conduct a direct inspection. In less than half an hour, a fleet of heavy trucks arrived on the scene. A group of team members in protective gear swiftly extended the pump pipes into the lake and began pumping water out at a rapid pace. It must be said that this scene directly astonished both Lu Xing and Qin Ran. Jing Chen has always followed these two principles. If it can be solved with physical strength, then use physical strength. If it can be covered with firepower, then cover it with firepower. The water level is visibly dropping at a speed that can be seen with the naked eye. In no time, the lake water is drained. All support teams quickly retreat from the scene. As the contagiousness of the pollution source has not been confirmed yet, the scene is still left to Xian and a few others to survey. Watching rows of armed personnel blockading in the distance, Xian can tell that if he and the investigation team are contaminated, they will not hesitate to shoot them without mercy. 17 ran happily and quickly in the mud. Suddenly stopped. Raised hand pointing to the center of the lake and asked his brother to look quickly. When they approached Xian, the monitoring instrument sounded a strong reaction. At the same time, there was also an extremely subtle sound ringing around. In an instant, Xian and the others all suddenly stopped their steps. The hair stood up on their bodies in an instant. That voice kept calling out. Qin Ran. You killed me. I want you to pay with your life. Follow the direction of the sound and explore. The crucian carp at the bottom of the lake are all opening their mouths. A faint voice can be heard saying, Qin Ran is hurting me. Qin Ran is hurting me. More and more fish on the lake surface start to open their mouths. The voices all stacked together become louder and louder. All the fish are screaming desperately. Deafening screams. It makes people feel like their head is going to split. Not good. It's a pollution source. Red moon now. A breathtaking scene suddenly appeared before my eyes. Almost too late for Xian and them to react. A wave of red water suddenly exploded from the bottom of the lake, carrying blood and fish scraps. Rushing towards Xian and others at high speed. Members of the Spiritual Pollution organization appeared, and the brother and sister teamed up once again. Just as Xian and the others found the source of pollution. Suddenly, a huge wave erupted from the bottom of the lake. It surged towards Xian and the others. The few people who didn't have time to react were knocked away by this force. Several crimson shadows emerged from the bottom of the lake under the red moon. In an instant, Cheng Hui and the other two were wrapped up in midair. The three suddenly floated in the sky, making the soldiers responsible for sealing off the area in the distance feel eerie and terrified. Only Xian could see the scene. At this moment, another shadow swiftly rushed towards Xian, opening its arms as if to give Xian a hug. The speed was so fast that Xian could hardly dodge. Suddenly, a cold little hand reached silently towards him. Xian's pupils suddenly changed drastically. His expression instantly became eerie. Haha, too slow. Xian's speed suddenly became as fast as the wind. 17 is right behind. Brother, I'll help you. Can't catch Xian's shadows. Just release your anger on Cheng Hui and the others. The red shadows tightly entwine their limbs. At this moment, Han Bing's urgent voice came through the earphones. It's a psychic attack. Confirming a super-level psychic monster. Danger level raised to high. After listening, Jing Chen shouted loudly, Quickly retreat, Xian. Meanwhile, Cheng Hui and the other two were being driven by an invisible force. They raised the guns in their hands and aimed at Xian. Facing the uncontrollable body, Cheng Hui shouted in difficulty, Get out of the way fast! The dense bullets poured down like a torrential rain. Xian relied on agile speed and stylish footwork to easily dodge all the bullets. He found a hill as a cover and crouched down because he couldn't see those shadows. Han Bing believed that the three members of the investigation team had been infected and suggested covering them with firepower to eliminate the spiritual monsters. Jing Chen immediately agreed and instructed Han Bing to prepare the helicopter. She is rushing to the scene. At the same time, she requested Xian to withdraw immediately, ordering everyone to retreat 500 meters. However, Xian remained expressionless and said he couldn't leave. The 3 soldiers from the investigative team were not infected. They were just being controlled. Xian has already made the decision that he cannot escape. "I will go solve this monster," Jing Chen insisted loudly after listening, and dissuasion is impossible. "Danger?" 17 happily squatted down beside him. "Brother, I'll accompany you." Xian nodded with his eyes closed towards his younger sister. With a whoosh, Crimson eyes suddenly opened wide. He dashed towards the source of pollution at a speed difficult to capture with the naked eye. When the red moon shrouds the world, he is the only fear under the crimson red moon. Facing the urgent retreat order from the superior Jing Chen, Xian, on the other hand, quietly closed his eyes. After saying, "Leave the monster to me to handle," Crimson eyes suddenly opened. The excitement for killing made him rush forward quickly. Cheng Hui and the others, controlled by the shadows, watched as Xian, with a gun in hand, uncontrollably fired wildly at them. The dense bullets brushed past Xian. His figure was so fast it appeared blurry, like a ghost. "Ha, too slow. Too slow. Really too slow." Red Moon leaped up and shot straight into the air. An investigator looked at Xian's hair-raising appearance. Thought Xian was coming to kill him. Fear took over the investigator's heart. He screamed, "Don't kill me!" Xian was actually grabbing the neck of the shadow behind him. Just a light wave. The sturdy and powerful shadow now felt as fragile as paper, being forcibly torn in half by Xian. The investigator suddenly felt a severe sense of weightlessness. Xian used his falling body as a springboard. With a swoosh, he sprinted towards the other members of the investigation team. In an instant, he tore open all the bindings wrapped around them. Han Bing and others watched the surveillance footage, shocked by Xian's ghostly and frenzied movements. The source of pollution can instantly lift the 3 people into the air and control them. This indicates an extremely strong infectious power. And Xian actually dared to rush towards the psychic monster directly in the face of bullets. This makes Han Bing feel that he is very crazy and very dangerous. What surprised them even more is the scene in front of him. The members of the 3 investigation teams, after being rescued by Xian, chose to retreat quickly. This indicates that what Xian said before was correct. They most likely were not infected. Jing Chen was surprised and delighted after listening. Order Xian to retreat immediately with the investigation team. But the next moment, she was stunned. Watch Xian's movements on the screen. Jing Chen's eyes were wide with surprise. What is he going to do? "Haha, now it's your turn." Xian relentlessly chased forward. His target is precisely the source of pollution in the center of the lake. The siblings stared eagerly at the center of the lake. "This is it. Ha ha!" The center of the lake suddenly bubbled up with a gurgling sound. The next second, a huge black shadow exploded at the bottom of the lake. And at a speed visible to the naked eye, it rapidly expanded around. In the blink of an eye, a tree full of countless human-shaped fruits stood majestically in the field, all eyes glaring at the place where Xian was. Groups of shadows pounced from midair, wanting to give Xian a loving hug. Haha looked at the shadows opening their arms towards him in the sky. Xian couldn't help but exclaim, "So warm and inviting!" He also responded at the same time. He eagerly pounced towards the dark shadow. At this moment, his demeanor was like that of a younger sister pouncing towards a toy. The radiant red moon in the sky became increasingly intense. The people around faintly saw a blurry scene, as if there was a large tree hanging with countless human-shaped fruits. Everyone present was terrified. What is that? A large tree covered with human-shaped fruits suddenly emerged from the ground. Countless human-shaped shadows simultaneously faced Xian, launching an attack. However, Xian remained completely calm. What replaced it was boundless excitement. At a speed beyond what humans can achieve. shuttling back and forth in the field. A terrifying source of pollution in the eyes of others. At this moment, it's like a plaything for Exion. The tree releases the attack methods of these shadows. Exion has a familiar feeling, but didn't think much of it. Exion once again gives his body to his younger sister to control the battle. Watching Exion Jingchen on the screen, she knows he is cleaning up the source of pollution in his own way. Based on the current analysis of various information, Han Bing determined that the target is a superclass spiritual pollution source. It should not have reached the level of the second class yet, despite having a certain degree of autonomy. But extracting lake water for testing did not stimulate it. From this, it can be seen that its level of autonomy is not very high. However, this contradicts why it keeps staring at Qin Ren if its autonomy is not high. Jing Chen believes that it was Qin Ren being avenged by someone that led to this pollution incident. Therefore, as the first avenger, Cui Wang is the core key. To say that, you need to find the body of Cui Wang. Only then can you truly resolve this pollution incident. But this is just their understanding of the process. Sometimes it's not absolute. Perhaps it can be directly resolved through Exion's approach. Exion is getting more and more excited. This speed is still not fast enough. Can't catch my words? The one who dies will be you. Originally covered with dense humanoid fruits. Now torn to pieces cleanly. 17 jumped onto the vines and took a big bite. Exion couldn't stop her. Worried that she would have diarrhea from eating randomly. I saw her grabbing the vine with both of her small hands. Doesn't she just want to eat? She bit down hard and immediately started eating. Devouring mouthful by mouthful along with 17. The vines seemed to be starting to feel fear. All the vines were trembling violently, shaking as if shivering. With a swoosh, all the vines in the field suddenly retracted. Rapidly retreat towards the center of the lake just now. 17 tightly held onto the vine in their hand without letting go. But the vine seemed to have a consciousness, and would rather give it up. It's better than being completely swallowed by this little girl. In less than a moment, that huge tree. It shrank towards the center of the lake at a speed visible to the naked eye. This sudden scene left Exion stunned. But it made 17 grit his teeth in anger. Humph. It's chickened out. Chickened out? Can a spiritual monster chicken out too? So is it over now? Jing Chen immediately called for an excavator to come dig up the contaminated original body. An hour later, they dug up a corpse at the bottom of the lake. When Exion saw that face clearly, how is this possible? The corpse in front of them turned out to be Qin Ren. Then who is the Qin Ren who has been following them by the lake? Seeing Exion and the others looking towards him, Qin Ren also seemed very concerned about the outcome. He asked if they found anything. The members of the investigative team quickly loaded their guns. Seeing this move, Qin Ren suddenly became somewhat cautious. Exion walked up to him and asked, "Who are you?" Qin Ren was somewhat puzzled by the question. "Who am I?" he repeated. "What do you mean by that?" Han Bing and Jing Chen suggested Exion to be straightforward about it. See his reaction. Meanwhile, ordered everyone to be on guard. Exion stared at him directly. "If you are Qin Ren, then who is the body we dug up?" Qin Ren looked stunned after listening. "What body?" "The body dug out from the bottom of the lake is you. If you were already dead, then who are you now?" Qin Ren's pupils suddenly filled with bloodshot veins. He murmured to himself, I am. It's impossible. If you dug me out, then Who am I?" Red Moon reflected the silk thread, oppressing the hearts of every investigator. Facing Exion, they closed in step by step. Qin Ren became more panicked. 17 held Exion's hand. "Brother, he is very similar to those humanoid fruits." Hearing 17 say this, Exion finally realized. No wonder I felt those shadows looked familiar before. Upon closer inspection, I found that all those shadows look a lot like Qin Ren. At this moment, Qin Ren's spirit began to verge on collapse. Suddenly, she madly rushed towards the wall. It's fake. All fake. You want to harm me. Watching Qin Ran's bizarre movements and running speed, she didn't seem like a normal person at all. Oops. He is about to climb over the wall to escape. Jing Chen quickly ordered to capture him. But obviously it was too late. They decisively opened fire on Qin Ran. With a loud thud, the sprinting figure fell to the ground. Strangely, his body rapidly dried up at a visible speed. Han Bing's scalp tingled as he witnessed this scene. He turned into Cui Wang. Support group. Put the bodies of Qin Ran and Cui Wang into the crystal coffin. Detect if there are any residual spirits here. Xian sits obediently by the lake, covered in a blanket, watching. The sound of propellers suddenly came from the sky. Jing Chen slowly walked out of the cabin. She came to Xian's side. No matter what, the cleaning task this time has been completed. It seemed that she thought of something, and deliberately added, I will apply for a special bonus for you. This subtle sentence brought a warm surge to Xian's heart. Jing Chen noticed that Xian still seemed puzzled. It was explained that this matter will be analyzed and investigated by a specialist. In past incidents that have been dealt with, there are often inexplicable things. However, as long as some clues are grasped, the logic behind most of them can be found. Jing Chen looked at the Xian investigation team. They have already reported to him the whole course of the matter. Did you hear the fish talking? Xian nodded. Those fish kept shouting, Qin Ran harmed me. Kill him and pay for his life. Jing Chen believed that this was an illusion caused by the influence of the pollution source. Fish do not speak because she did not hear it in the channel. After speaking, she took Xian to the guard hall in Satellite City. They arrived at a quiet meeting room. Jing Chen asked him to rest for a while first. 17 curiously took a bite of the chocolate placed on the table. Chewing away. Suddenly, as if discovering a new continent, she happily continued to eat, hugging all the chocolates and candies to her chest. So delicious. Big brother, I like this. After a while, the sound of the meeting room door opening could be heard. Xian quickly tidied up the zero-food packaging paper on the table. Feeling a bit embarrassed, Jing Chen looked at the candy wrapper in her hand. Not sure where to throw it. She couldn't help but speculate if she likes sweets or craves them after using power. She quietly noted this in her heart. After a thorough investigation, no residual spiritual power was detected in the lake. In other words, the spiritual pollution incident can be declared a success. Although there are still many doubts. But at least for now, no one else will be harmed. Jing Chen looked at Xian, who was now a bit strange, and to him, who dealt with that super-level spiritual monster. Are they really the same person? Immediately discuss this cleanup work with Xian. Usually, the logical chain and core key of the pollution source are targeted for cleanup. But this time, those 2 points were not found, yet the problem was still resolved. So do you have some hidden power? Otherwise, how could you solve it single-handedly? A pollution source with a mental level close to 200 units? Jing Chen focused intently on Xian, thinking that he still had hidden power. Based on the previous test results, you belong to the spider power category and are rated as C level. Your mental level is around 100 units. However, compared to contaminants, mental mutants of the same level often have slightly lower mental levels. But you can directly solve contaminants. The coffee shop and the incident with Qin Ran were both like this before. This approach is very direct and violent. But it's not common. Xian understood Jing Chen's meaning. Honestly, of these two sources of pollution, both were resolved by his younger sister. Pick up the candy wrapper from earlier. This is the one that the younger sister ate. Jing Chen suddenly opened her eyes wide and asked, Where is she now? Xian pointed to Jing Chen's head. She is right above you, smiling down at you. Although it's not the first time Jing Chen heard about Xian having a younger sister, it still gives Jing Chen goosebumps. She glanced at the top of her head. Clearly, there was nothing there. What Jing Chen was even more curious about was how Xian had determined which 3 members of the investigative team had not been infected yet. When I heard that Xian had seen it with his own eyes, Jing Chen looked puzzled. I can see what those monsters look like, so I know the 3 of them are just being bound, not part of the monsters. My sister was able to help me deal with that monster at the time because I could see it. Although the monster was very scary, it was okay as long as I avoided its attacks. Jing Chen listened thoughtfully and praised Xian for doing well this time. He asked Xian to go back and rest first. The follow-up investigation will be communicated to him later. Xian stood up, but he didn't seem to have the intention to leave immediately. He, who is obsessed with money, actually wants to inquire about the reward. Jing Chen was stunned for a moment after hearing that. He smiled and said he would transfer the money to his account soon. Xian finally relaxed and walked towards the door. 17 is holding Xian's hand at this time. Brother, just now, there were many people in the room looking at you with unkind intentions. And that woman with the deformed chest was trying to manipulate you. Xian raised his index finger to his lips. He signaled 17 to stop talking. After all, they paid for it. Jing Chen, sitting in the meeting room, had a complicated mood. Xian can directly see the source of pollution. She didn't know this before. The more diverse his power, the higher the risk of losing control. She gently pressed a button. Instantly, faint blue figures appeared in the conference room. A figure in a white coat began to assess Xian, suspecting that he inherently possesses a very high mental magnitude. The initial assessment suggests that he has likely reached over 300. However, a middle-aged man interrupted the analysis and started talking about recruitment, mentioning the use of a mutant with such a high risk of losing control. Is this in compliance with regulations? Jing Chen was immediately unhappy upon hearing this. What's not in compliance with regulations? His performance today has been very good. The middle-aged man, however, was relentless. Everyone could see that his mental state was not normal. He even displayed signs of severe schizophrenia and multiple personality disorders. Have you ever considered the harm such a person could cause if they lose control? These opposing words seemed to be nothing new to Jing Chen. He straightforwardly asked the middle-aged man what he wanted. For someone like Xian, the middle-aged man expressed that he would rather keep supporting him financially and not want him to be exposed to too many spiritual pollution incidents. He considers Xian to be a very unstable patient. Jing Chen immediately opposed what you call surveillance and expulsion. Have you ever thought about the possibility of angering him by doing this, leading to a loss of control? Who will bear that risk? Just as they were arguing with each other, a figure appeared in the main seat of the meeting room. Professor Bai knew they were discussing Xian and immediately sent out an important report. Let everyone in the room take a look. 3 days later, Xian received a call from Han Bing. As the information analysis team, after dealing with each spiritual pollution source event, we will report the handling methods and analysis results. Mr. Xian made a great contribution in this pollution cleanup worker incident. A reward of 30,000 yuan has been transferred to your account. In addition, Madam Jing Chen also sought approval from superiors. Duowei has applied for 6,000 yuan for you. In addition to the remuneration, Colonel Chen has arranged a comprehensive examination for you. What examination? Xian asked, looking puzzled. Han Bing then explained. It's a comprehensive evaluation of his condition and power before the formal recruitment. It's customary to have this kind of examination. Formal recruitment? Xian obviously hasn't reacted yet. It took a while for Xian to realize that this is about being converted to a regular employee in advance. The salary doubled. A look of relief and joy appeared on their face. For the special pollution source incident involving Qin Ran, the research department has not yet reached a specific conclusion. It can only be transported to a special containment center for storage. Ensure that this pollution incident will not happen again. After listening to Han Bing's report, Xian hung up the phone. Looking at the already transferred reward of 36,000, joy that was hard to conceal appeared on his face. And he is about to be promoted soon. The days ahead are becoming more hopeful. He walked downstairs with a relaxed pace. His little sister was squatting on the street lamp downstairs, shouting for her brother to come home from work. But just at this moment, a sharp dagger suddenly shot out from a corner, surprising Exion, who couldn't dodge in time. 17 leaped down from the lamppost with a bang, faster than anyone could have anticipated. In an instant, it's about to strike Exion. 17 moved at lightning speed. In a flash, the item was grasped in their hand. Who is it? Exion looked around vigilantly. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind. Ha. Indeed, as expected from someone of the same series as me, your reaction is still very quick. Only saw a young man in a trench coat and sunglasses standing on the wall. He walked towards Exion step by step with a smile on his face. And he clarified that he just wanted to test Exion just now. Then he reached out to introduce himself to Exion. I am Colonel Gecko-chin, and Spider asked me to come here. Exion frowned as he looked at Gecko extending his hand. Do you know that this is very dangerous? Dangerous? Gecko sounded puzzled. Do you really think this level of attack is dangerous for us spiders? Clearly, Gecko did not understand Exion's meaning. The sister on the side had long had a cold look in her eyes, staring at him maliciously. She asked Exion if he needed her to take action. At the same time, Dad and Mom also appeared at the window. They stared straight at the ground, as if ready to take action at any moment. This scene was all captured by Exion. He felt somewhat comforted. It had been a long time since he had seen his family work together so harmoniously. He quickly dragged the gecko away. What I said was dangerous, is you are very dangerous. The dagger moves at a surprising speed. In an instant, it's about to strike Exion. 17 moves at lightning speed and grabs the dagger in his hand. Who is it? Exion looks around vigilantly. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind. Ha, indeed worthy of being in the same series as me. The reaction is still very quick. Just saw a young man in a windbreaker. He stood on the wall wearing sunglasses. He smiled and took steps towards Exion, and indicated that he just wanted to test Exion. Later, he reached out to introduce himself to Exion. My name is Gecko. Colonel Chen asked me to come over. Exion frowned as he looked at Gecko extending his hand. Do you know that this is very dangerous? Dangerous? Gecko seemed somewhat astonished. This level of attack. Can this be considered dangerous for our spider classic? Clearly, Gecko did not understand Exion's meaning. The sister on the side already had a cold look in her eyes as she stared at him malevolently. She asked Exion, Brother, do you want me to take action? At the same time, Dad and Mom appeared at the window as well. They stared straight down, as if ready to take action at any moment. Exion took in the scene with satisfaction. It had been a long time since he had seen his family working together so harmoniously. He quickly pulled Gecko away. When I said it's dangerous, I meant you're in danger. If Exion's family decides to make a move, Gecko's life would be in jeopardy. Gecko thought Exion was angry. Awkwardly, he began to explain. Bro, in our group, there are those who greet each other with guns when they meet. You said I crossed 2 satellite towns to come and see you. Aren't you going to invite me upstairs to sit for a while? Exion looked at him with some pity. He actually still wants to go upstairs and sit. Next time for sure. He changed the subject and asked about the gecko. What is the purpose of Colonel Chen asking you to come? The gecko lives in the building Exion. Bro, you've got a lot of face. To help you with the pre-employment test. 6 monsters from Qingang City collectively arrived at the second city. 6 monsters of Qingang City? Exion was puzzled. The gecko, however, acted mysterious. You'll know when you get there, he said. 17 looked somewhat malicious. Exion quickly spoke up. Sister, Don't gesture at his neck. This startled the gecko. Who are you talking to? Thinking they were both mutants, Exion didn't hide anything. My younger sister. She seems to want to tear your head off right now. But you can rest assured. She usually listens to me. What if circumstances are not ordinary? The gecko looks terrified. No wonder everyone says you are dangerous. At that moment, the electronic watch on the gecko's wrist started ringing. They're here. The detection notification has arrived. Meet at the manhwa edifice on the eastern side of the city in 15 minutes. 6 monsters of Qingang City are being used to evaluate Exion's power. First time coming together to the second city. Received a sudden notice for the onboarding test. Exion was obviously a bit surprised. 2 geckos with spider classic power. He plans to compete with him in speed to see who arrives first. Watching the gecko rapidly climbing on the wall, 17 looked at Exion. Should we follow them? It can be seen that Exion is currently deep in thought. It seems that he has made a decision. He resolutely chose to take the subway and enjoy the air conditioning. Internally, he is still criticizing Gecko. This guy doesn't know the last subway. Can I go directly to manhwa edifice? Just out of the subway station, and saw a gecko rushing towards him in a great hurry. Halfway there, he realized Exion wasn't following. He had to turn back to find him. Unexpectedly, Exion had no sportsmanship and took the subway. 2 people walked into manhwa edifice and saw a group of experts from various fields apart from Jing Chen. The leader is Chief Chen from the Institute for Special Pollution Research. The 6 individuals are the 6 monsters of Qingang City, as mentioned by Gecko. Exion's examination and the subsequent guidance plan. They will all be completed by them. They will first test Exion's spiritual level. With this data, they will know how to guide Exion in the future, avoiding the possibility of losing control. Guidance is to help you enhance your variable power. Each power has different strengths and weaknesses. Jing Chen is worried that Exion may not understand, so he explains it to him specially. Arrived indoors. There are several targets placed in the distance. They first tested Exion's shooting power. Jing Chen picked up a gun. Knowing Exion has not received professional firearms training, the training begins now. She skillfully loaded the magazine in front of Exion. Opened the safety latch. Moved like flowing clouds in water. Fired a shot at the target. Then handed the pistol to Exion. Okay, training is over. Exion was obviously confused. Is that it? What did you train me for? The gecko on the side spoke up, expressing, for us, in our opinion. As long as you know how to unlock the safety catch and aim at the opponent, the training is complete. After taking the pistol, Exion aimed at the target in front of him and pulled the trigger. Looking at the screen displaying the target, he found that the shots hit the bullseye of the next target. The people present were dumbfounded. Is this all the Spider Classic power user has got? Gecko stepped forward to cheer up Exion and told him not to be nervous. It was difficult to hit accurately at the beginning. At this time, a little hand touched the gun in Exion's hand. Seems to be very curious about what this is. With his little sister holding onto his arm that held the gun, he felt in that moment. The entire person seemed to have turned into a precise machine. Pupils contracted. The target in front of his eyes became unusually clear. He gently pulled the trigger. The recoil didn't even make his arm tremble. From the display screen, it could be seen that the shot hit the red dot in the center. A bullseye! Exion's performance surprised everyone in the audience. However, Exion's subsequent actions left people feeling puzzled. He suddenly intertwined his 2 fingers and dismantled the gun's components one by one. Only to see 17 looking disdainful, saying that shooting guns is not fun. Taking it apart is still alright. Exion can only helplessly express that he doesn't really like this. Can you try testing something else? Gecko's response seems a bit different, old friend. We are naturally gun players, right? How can we play Spider Classic without guns? Chief Chen smiled and tactfully made a roundabout response. He thinks that Xian has already shown talent in using firearms. Let's try another type now. At this time, 3 soldiers pointed their guns at Xian to test his ability to dodge bullets. However, thinking about the consequences of getting injured himself and the reaction of his family, he refused the test. The most surprising test was the microspace infiltration test. With the help of his younger sister, Xian, who is 1.75 meters tall, managed to fit into a small box. Arriving at the psychic power test, a professor held an apple in his hand and asked Xian to use psychic power to take the apple over. Xian looked at 17 and wanted her to help bring the apple over. 17 pouted and said, "I'm your sister. I'm not here to work for you. If you were in danger, it would be one thing. But right now, there's nothing wrong." She suddenly brightened up her eyes. It seems like she has discovered something. Haha, she excitedly rushed towards the professor in front of her. Not only is she a spider classic, but she also has a pair of penetrating eyes. She refused to help Xian with the psychic power test of picking up an apple from a distance. She with an extraordinary mind. Instead, she became interested in the professor's hair. She found out that the professor was bald and mischievously wanted to take off his wig. Fortunately, Xian stopped her in time. Judging whether the mental state of a mutation is easily out of control. A female professor. She conducted the final psychological test on Xian. Meanwhile, several other professors drew conclusions based on the data that had just been tested. According to the data calculations, his power should be at AC level. As for his potential, it can only be determined through an evaluation based on psychological test reports. When the female professor walked in, the entire office became tense. She looked at the data of the Xian psychological test, lost in thought. Psychological test, major issues with it. He is too normal. Even more normal than I am. I focused on chatting with him about his childhood in the orphanage and his experiences after leaving. He was very cooperative. He showed no resistance at all when I asked about his family. He even described his patterns and scenes of interaction with his family, and the possibility of his family's true existence. After the Red Moon incident, where can you find people who are completely normal in mind? But he turned out to be very normal. Normal is a bit abnormal. Xian, who has a strong moral compass, was discovered by the female professor. She found that he was deeply influenced by someone. That would be the former director of the Red Moon Bright Orphanage, who remained sober, rational, and true to their principles during that crazy, confusing period of time. Since Xian has 3 family members, the spider classic power comes from the younger sister. They speculate that Xian has 2 other powers. Xian did not deny this. Perhaps for him, it's just that he cannot easily use those 2 powers. The professor wearing a wig also agrees with this statement, because he found that Xian's spiritual level is indeed very high. During the psychic power test, Xian refused to take the apple, but the professor's wig tipped quietly. The specially made wig requires force to be pulled. Xian, however, could secretly tug at it. Such power and control made the professor feel that Xian could even crush his head. On the side, Jing Chen seemed to be thinking about something. If the Red Moon Bright Orphanage explosion is related to Xian, that should not only be the brain, and everyone present will probably collapse. At a meeting a few days ago, the document provided by Professor Bai recorded the explosion incident that occurred 10 years ago. The entire 3-story orphanage was completely destroyed. Only 2 people survived. One of them is Xian. The other one is Rujin. Xiaozing is the principal of Red Moon Bright Primary School. Due to short staffing in their department that year, they had to hastily close the case. Now it seems there are many doubtful points. For example, no flames or other explosive residues were found at the scene. From this analysis, it is very likely to be a terrible incident of psychic power getting out of control. I know that the risk of Xian losing control is indeed high. but it has been found that he has been working hard to keep it under control. During the meeting, Professor Bai personally decided to approve the recruitment of Xian and also provide guidance. And after hearing Professor Bai's description, the rest of them were filled with excitement inside. Even feel Xian's spiritual level may exceed 500. In that case, as long as 2 more intensifications are done, won't it be possible to directly enter the second stage? When Jing Chen asked the professors whether they agreed to guide Xian, 6 monsters of Qingyang City surprisingly unified and raised their hands in agreement. In another office, Xian was alone with Gecko. Thinking that Xian loves to eat candy, Jing Chen deliberately arranged some candies in the office. The bored Gecko inquired, "When did Xian discover their own power?" Before he could answer, Gecko began talking about him. The first time he discovered his power. It was a winter day with heavy snowfall. He was wandering the streets. He ended up seeing a young lady braving the snowstorm on her way to the night shift. Despite having less than 50 yuan left in his pocket, he decided to help her. But he still gave the money to the young lady, letting her feel a little warmth in this cold winter. I know you don't like to hear these sentimental words. Omitted 1,000 words here. Gecko started towards the passionate young lady. But at this moment, suddenly there was the sound of security guards knocking on the door outside. Gecko was suddenly frightened, so scared that he quickly hid inside a nearby cabinet. Until the people outside moved the cabinet to the security department, where they surrounded the Gecko, who was only wearing a pair of underwear with guns. He only realized then. It turned out that he had climbed into a shoe cabinet that was only 30 centimeters high. Xian wondered if it was really a good idea to talk about such things. However, Gecko didn't mind at all. He believed that everyone in the department was on the same team, and that these matters would eventually come to light. Besides, there are only a few people in our department who are normal anyway. The drunkard would say that he can see dragons flying after drinking too much every day. The doll is so good-looking that it can drive all the men in the world crazy. But ironically, she is a simpleton. Just chatting. Gecko discreetly mentioned Jing Chen's matters to Xian. Do you know what color her underwear is? 17 suddenly appeared. Because Xian didn't allow her to eat too much sugar just now. At this moment, she was feeling a bit moody. Expressionless, she said it's pink. Pink? Xian was a little surprised. Unable to help herself, she blurted out. Oh my goodness, you really know. Gecko immediately became interested and asked him about the details and styles. I don't know when Jing Chen has already walked in. What are you talking about? These words startled Xian and the Gecko. A boss who looks cold and domineering. Behind the scenes, she's actually a fan of pink lingerie. I don't know when Jing Chen had already walked in with the files. The Gecko that was quietly discussing the color of his underwear startled the two of them. Fortunately, Jing Chen didn't seem to care much about this issue. What is needed at the moment is to let Xian familiarize himself with his own power before guiding him. For this, Jing Chen arranged for the Gecko, who is also a member of Spider Classic, to assist. In the initial stage, Xian will accompany him to perform cleaning tasks several times so that he can quickly understand himself. Coincidentally, there is a particularly polluted cleaning task tonight. He asked Xian to follow the Gecko to become familiar with the process. This is your code name. Xian picked up the file handed to him by Jing Chen and took a look. Although it was no different from before, he was still curious. Why was his code name single unit? When getting up to leave, Jing Chen seemed to remember something. She lowered her voice and looked at the Gecko. If you don't want to strip naked, run to the busiest street, and dance until your legs break, then don't talk behind my back about me when you bring newcomers along. Understand? The Gecko shivered in response to Ming Zi, because he knew deeply that Jing Chen from the hypnotic class could really do it. As she was leaving, she turned back to look at Xian. And the outfit I wore today is black. Xian listened without daring to nod, sitting stiffly. At this moment, the straightforward voice of younger sister came from the side. She's lying. That evening, they arrived at the site that needed pollution cleanup. Gecko handed Xian a pair of wireless earphones. When Gecko put on the earphones, he seemed inexplicably excited. Connect the team's line. Access the team's line for information analysis. In the channel of the earphones, a voice conducting a signal test can be heard soon. The gecko, however, had a sly look on its face. It opened its mouth and said, "Dear Linda," and started flirting with the information analyst on the other end of the channel. She seems accustomed to this kind of behavior from the gecko. She responded coldly and directly, "I'm not Linda. I'm Tai Chui, with the last name Tai." After that, I began to report to them about the information related to this particular pollution incident. After the briefing was completed, the gecko immediately climbed up the wall at high speed. He waved his hand towards Xian and said, "Brother, come up quickly." Seeing this, Xian turned to look at 17 and said, "Sister, let's go up too. I want to eat candy." 17 was still emotional at this moment, still thinking about the candies in Xian's pocket that he didn't give her to eat. Xian teased her for a while. Children eating too much candy can cause tooth decay. She seemed a little angry. "Do you think I'm a child? You are a kid. The pretty kind." Upon hearing this, 17 happily reached out both hands. "I not only want to eat candy, also want to eat the kind that is black, sweet, and bitter. I want 10 pieces. Ignoring the hustle to no avail, Xian nodded helplessly. He took out a chocolate from his pocket and handed it to his sister. After finishing it, 17 happily snuggled up to Xian. "Brother, let's go!" Gecko saw that it took him so long to come up and couldn't help teasing Xian. "I thought you took the subway again." Shortly after, he whispered to Xian, "Did you see the pollution source?" Following the gecko's gaze, Xian looked into the distance. With the help of his sister's power, he saw a factory building about 300 meters away. His vision zoomed in again. Through the windows of the factory, he saw the scene inside. There were many people working overtime, and the whole operation appeared busy and orderly. Everyone seemed like precision instruments, blank and numb, as if work was the only thing on their minds. Even when their hands were cut by sharp machinery, there was not the slightest reaction. Xian was suddenly astonished. The people in this factory seemed to lack awareness and pain sensation. In a remote illegal factory, lights were still on late at night. A group of workers tirelessly worked for multiple days, without stopping even if their arms were cut by sharp machines. They seemed to be without perception and pain sensation. Gecko pointed to a spot inside the house, asking Xian if they saw the pollution source. Through the window, Xian saw a middle-aged man in a suit gesticulating excitedly in the factory, muttering something. Xian looked at Gecko and asked, "Is he the pollution source? What is he saying?" Gecko asked Xian to distinguish carefully. Spider Classic should be able to hear what he's saying. Little sister walked over to Xian with a smile. "Big brother, I'm here to help you." With the power of 17, he suddenly became particularly agile. Not only could he see everything in the distant factory clearly, he could even capture the sound of the machines rotating vividly. He heard the voice of this man D speaking. "Work. We must work. We are all lucky survivors after the great disaster. In the wilderness, no one knows how many lunatics are wandering around. Many people can't even eat their fill. The reason is that they simply don't work like we do. We have only work. We must work harder. Only through hard work can we enter life in the main city. If we don't work, we will end up starving to death like those people outside of the city." He became more and more ecstatic as he spoke. "Let's fight it out. If we don't work, what's the difference between us and the dead?" Watching those who have already collapsed from exhaustion and don't know if they're dead or alive, they stood up again, swaying under his passionate cries. Gecko looked at Xian. He had heard Jing Chen say that Xian could see spiritual monsters. "What can you see now?" However, Xian shook his head gently. He couldn't see that kind of thing, only a person standing there. The situation is the same as Gecko's. Gecko concluded that the middle-aged man is, strictly speaking, the pollution source. At this point, he can only be considered a spiritual mutant. Suddenly, the headphones broadcast the voice of the information analysis team, Chui Tai. She is reporting the information of middle-aged man, Zheng Yuanxiong, the factory manager of Yuanxiong Textile Factory, 40 years old. Entered satellite town at the age of 27 and established this textile factory, but managed it poorly. It faced closure several times. 10 days ago, someone discovered a mutation at this textile factory and reported it to the security department, but when the investigation team arrived, the situation is already hard to control. The people in the factory will attack anyone who enters without discrimination and tries to stop them from working, or they may infect them to become one of them. They have been working continuously for 2.5 days without eating, drinking, or sleeping. If not stopped, everyone is likely to work until death. Yuanxiong may also lose control at any time. At that time, the contamination range will greatly increase, even spreading to several surrounding factories. Therefore, headquarters has ordered a direct cleanup. Upon hearing about the direct cleanup, Xian's heart sank slightly. There are nearly over 100 people in that factory. Gecko seemed to see Xian's thoughts. He also hoped to avoid bloodshed if possible. After all, some of these workers only have a mild infection and can be saved. The advice given by Chui Tai: use a specially made powerful anesthetic gun. Resolve it from a distance. Force the pollution source to instantly pass out. However, Yuanxiong can influence 100 people at once. I'm sure his spiritual level must be high. Gecko is worried that before hitting him, that powerful psychic power will stop his bullets. At this time, Chui Tai issued instructions to the support team. Let them trigger an explosion on the east side of the factory 30 seconds later. This will distract Yuanxiong and make his psychic power unstable. And that was the moment when Gecko fired the gun. He had only one fleeting opportunity. Gecko agreed immediately. He took out a long and slender sniper rifle. He leaped forward, his legs hooked onto the iron railing. Ready. He hung upside down, aiming the muzzle at the factory building 300 meters away. The 30-second countdown begins. The voice of Chui Tai counting down is heard on the channel. Time flies, counting down to the final moments. Get ready. A huge booming sound suddenly erupts. At the same time, the corners of Gecko's mouth slightly lifted. Without any hesitation, he pulled the trigger. A needle-like. The bullet flew out from the muzzle at high speed. After passing through the window, it accurately nailed Yuanxiong's back of the neck. He slowly slumped to the ground. It seems that this anesthetic is very effective. Done! He looked towards Xian. Brother, it's time to wrap things up. Haha, settled. Gecko tied Yuanxiong up tightly and put a glass helmet on him. But Xian vaguely felt that something was wrong. Yuanxiong had passed out, but the workers were still mechanically going about their tasks. At this moment, 17 gently pulled Xian and said, Big brother, you should take a look. Under the desk, there was a little girl in a red dress curled up, holding a cotton-woven doll, staring in the direction of Xian and the gecko. Seems to be somewhat afraid. Asked in a soft voice, Why don't you guys go to work? This little girl can control people's mental states. Under her influence, the workers all turned into obedient work machines. Records show that she was the 8-year-old daughter of the factory manager. However, she tragically died in just 1 year. The cause of death was that the factory manager was too busy working, neglectful in taking care of her. So much so that she was pulled into the factory machinery while trying to pick up a toy. The factory manager, due to excessive longing for his daughter, generated a mutation. He then used his own psychic power to reshape a daughter. Information analyst Chui Tai was sweating profusely at this point. This indirect pollution source can already be directly observed. The spiritual level must be very high. The little girl looked at Exion and the others with a strange look in her eyes. Brother, why aren't you working? Dad said everyone should work. People who don't work will be punished. With her words, the surrounding silent workers slowly walked towards Exion and Gecko with weapons in hand. Gecko leaped forward, seeming to test something. A dagger quickly flew out of his hand. It directly pierced through the girl's body. Thus it can be seen that this girl has no physical presence. This action seemed to provoke the girl. She suddenly screamed out loudly, "Why isn't it working?" The sound, accompanied by rippling energy, spread throughout the entire factory. "Work! Damn it!" In an instant, the workers went crazy. They were shouting frantically. Gecko quickly dodged the attacks of a few people. Watching these workers going berserk and smashing things, Chui Tai suggested that the two of them retreat immediately. Spider Classic power user is difficult. Directly addressing this kind of indirect pollution source is the solution. She will request Princess Classic from headquarters to assist in solving power user the doll. Gecko seemed somewhat hesitant. If the doll were to take action, will these workers all die? I will go and try. After all, this concerns nearly 100 lives. Exion finds it hard to bear in mind. In an instant, he jumped down. The figure moved frantically among the workers. Not good. Gecko, stop him quickly. A strange sound came through the earpiece channel. He does have the ability to harm with psychic power indeed. But according to the information Colonel Chen gave me, it shows that his risk of losing control is not low, so he is not allowed to deal with affairs that would put heavy psychological stress on him. Although the other party is a pollution source, he looks like a child. It may cause him great psychological trauma. Preventing him from losing control takes precedence over this task. So we can't take the risk. 17 excitedly pointed to the little girl. Brother, let's go help her, okay? I understand what solving means in the little girl's mouth. Exion immediately refused. Why? They all say that girl is fake. Because she looks pitiful. She looks real. During the question and answer session, Exion stacked various goods into mountains. He intercepted the group of crazed workers who were chasing after him. Then he turned around and looked at the little girl hugging a stuffed toy. Little sister, please stop causing trouble. Exion did not act directly. It seemed like he wanted to negotiate with her. Seeing this little girl, he felt a complicated feeling in his heart. Since the manager can produce such an indirect pollutant, then my sister and my family members, could they also be like this? The girl once again roared at Exion, questioning why he wasn't working. People who don't work should all die. Her anger infected the workers present again, who were on the verge of breaking through the barrier. Her voice filled Exion's heart with annoyance. The idea of getting rid of her directly became stronger and stronger. The anger became more and more severe. It was almost about to break Exion's rationality. At this time, a sigh sounded in the field. It doesn't seem like your siblings are suitable for dealing with these matters. Turning around, a lady in an elegant wide-brimmed hat walked gracefully from deep within the factory. What an experience to have a mom who can reason with you. Exion wanted to persuade the little girl kindly without resorting to force. The little girl, however, was ungrateful. She continued to release psychic power that could affect others' emotions. The anger that was stirred up inside. Exion was on the verge of breaking through reason and tearing apart everything in front of him. A sigh came from behind at this moment. It was followed by the crisp sound of high heels. A lady exuding an elegant temperament slowly walked into the factory. She gave Exion a gentle smile. You haven't even dated. How do you know how to educate children? Exion was taken aback. They didn't expect their mom to show up here. The little girl who had been shouting to work suddenly stopped. She seemed to sense a great threat. Young lady, at your age, you shouldn't be thinking about work. Why aren't you going to school to study? Mom squatted in front of the little girl, still so gentle. Her tone carried a hint of tenderness. What an irresponsible father he must be to instill the idea that children must work. Clearly, It is his own greedy desires that led to the accident at the factory, yet he still expects the daughter to understand him. How self-confident one must be to think that way. The factory manager, who was originally in a coma, suddenly started twitching all over. The little girl became fervent once again, angrily shouting at Xion's mother to work. Just as she shouted loudly, her voice abruptly stopped again. There was a hint of fear in her eyes, because Xion's mother suddenly had a slight change in her expression. The little girl was instantly startled, fearfully stepping back. Xion's mother slowly reached for the toy in the little girl's hand. She took the doll, the plush toy that the girl was holding, from her arms and made direct eye contact with her. The child had better behave, or else. The other hand had already taken out a pair of scissors from her bag. The scissors were aimed at the neck of the cuddly plush doll. With a click, the invisible chain of logic connecting the little girl was severed. The plush toy's head then fell off. The girl was startled all over and looked at the toy doll's head at her feet. The little girl, originally with a look of fanaticism. Her expression suddenly became extremely stiff. Xion's mom looked at her gently. There was a slight movement at the corner of her lips. Are you a good obedient child? At this moment, the little girl could no longer control her fear. It began to slowly dissipate. The restless workers in the factory suddenly fell silent. What happened? It seems like something unusual is going on in the field. Quick inquiries came through Gecko's earphones. The gecko nearby Xion obviously paused for a moment. The indirect pollution source has been cleared. The eerie sense of crisis that surrounded it is no more. Xion watched as his mother left, together with his sister, until that figure disappeared under the red moonlight. Chui Tai confirmed with Xion. Has Mr. Single Unit indirect pollution source been removed? The little girl seems to have disappeared. Xion replied yes. Well done. She then asked the support team to enter. The factory manager was also carried out in a specially made glass box. The workers are very lucky. It's just that the medium pollution support team will send them for psychological treatment. Gecko has some questions. Curiously, he asked how he resolved the little girl's issue. He just saw Xion snatch the toy from the child's hand. Xion pointed to the doll. Others couldn't see the mother. He could only make an excuse that the toy was tangible, thinking to scare the little girl, which turned out to be quite effective. This approach is unheard of for Gecko. By breaking the toy of the indirect pollution source, the girl was scared enough to directly revert to her original form. Is that so? Can't you guys do that? Then it must be your problem for sure. This kind of statement makes sense to some extent. But just now the spiritual body dissipated directly. It doesn't seem like fleeing out of intimidation, but more like being cut off from the chain of logic up to this point. Chui Tai's voice paused slightly. Mr. Single Unit, did you do something else just now? These people are really hard to deceive. Xion is carefully thinking about what Mom just did. The key point of this incident lies in the extreme guilt of the factory manager towards his daughter, leading to his psychic power splitting off a daughter. But this daughter is just his imagination. Does not exist in reality. So as long as this point is revealed, that is to cut off the chain of logic of pollution source 039. Chui Tai seemed a bit excited. Mr. Single Unit, you did a great job. Instructed the support team to take over and finish the work. The communication channel was then closed after the job was done. After dealing with the pollution source incident, Gecko told Xion the most important lesson, which is how to prevent direct loss of control. And Gecko's method of preventing loss of control is actually to go to Flower Moon Venus and indulge in one's desires and emotions freely. Spiritual Mutant has special powers. At the same time, there is also a risk of losing control. Chunibu Boy Spider Classic has a gecko with classic features. It teaches Xion the ultimate move to prevent losing control. It turns out that it's a legitimate clubhouse to indulge freely. He, who has not had emotional fluctuations for a long time, seems to also be thinking about indulging himself this time. This should also be considered as part of the job, right? Suddenly remembered something. Xian gave a gentle tug on the gecko. A serious look accompanied by a hint of excitement. Does this company headquarters provide reimbursement? The gecko almost spit out the wine it had just drunk. Are you kidding me? Xian walked out alone a minute later. Not reimbursing, while saying it's part of the job. Hee hee. Money Lover suddenly became clear-headed. Following Jing Chen's instructions, he arrived at the Security Department Training Center. The empty meeting room suddenly heard Bing Han's voice. She will be responsible for Xian's basic theoretical training. The concept of spiritual pollution source was first proposed by the Lunar Eclipse Research Institute 27 years ago. At that time, it was still called the Red Moon Institute. There are still many speculations about the special pollution source, which are still in the theoretical stage. So their philosophy is to have skepticism and practice go hand in hand. Xian listens carefully to Bing Han's training. He gradually understands the concepts of spiritual pollution and psychic power. After completing the training session, Xian bought groceries and walked back home. He thought about what had happened at the Red Moon Orphanage all those years ago. That memory is always a blur. Little Lou doesn't speak about it. Neither do the family members. Climbing up the dark stairs, room 401 seemed particularly cozy. Dad was yelling furiously at little sister. The little sister was hanging upside down from the ceiling. She was singing with her off-key voice. Filial woke up Dad, who was sleeping in the kitchen, with a commotion. Knowing full well that Dad couldn't come out, she still taunted him, saying if he had the ability, he should come out and hit her. Xian looked very pleased. It's still home. What surprised him was that his sister dared to talk back. Previously, she would either slip away or hide. You smelly brat, you're asking for it. Don't think you can hide from me and sneak some food outside. You have the nerve to talk back just because you've gotten a bit stronger. If you have the guts, never come back in your whole life. Dad seems to be a little irritated by my sister. Haha, not replying is not replying. When I grow up, I'll turn you into a toy doll. Dad turned his head and saw Xian standing at the door. Just as he was about to get angry, he saw Xian pick up a bottle of wine and some groceries he had bought. Can we have a quiet meal today? Mom is still the same as usual. She was on the phone with a Ms. Chen, inviting her to move here as a neighbor. When she saw Dad blocking the siblings at the door, she hung up the phone and came over to mediate. Ah, it's such a lavish spread. We bought a lot of dishes today. Come in quickly. I just embarrassed myself in front of my friends. Although Mom seems to have many friends, Xian has never met any of them. Xian brought up the factory north of the city. He still has too many questions to ask Mom. Mom covered her mouth and smiled elegantly. Silly child. I just happened to pass by. Seeing you and your sister standing there foolishly. Let a little girl have no way at all. Stupid but adorable. Is the little girl in the factory real? That's fake. She's just a separated spiritual body. Xian took a deep breath and continued to ask, What about you guys? As soon as those words were spoken, Dad and 17 were suddenly taken aback. Are we real? Shouldn't we see you? Our family lives together. Isn't this feeling real? Xian listened, feeling a strange emotion. Indeed, my life feels very real. At this moment, Mother took out a letter sent to Xian by someone else. It was said to be sent from the orphanage. Upon hearing orphanage, Xian knew it was sent by little Lou. Why did she send the letter? She wants to invite you over to eat dumplings. Although Mom said she didn't peek, she knows all the contents. The next day, Xian carried big and small bags for the children at the orphanage. Bought a lot of bread and sweets. I don't know why. Family members, including his younger sister, never seemed to go to the orphanage with him. However, Xian doesn't seem to have noticed. At this time, a mysterious man with a large beard appeared. He was sucking on a straw and smiling at him strangely. Red Moon Elementary School is an orphanage. There is only one teacher inside. She is a classmate from Exion Orphanage, a survivor of the event 10 years ago. After receiving the invitation from Little Lou to eat dumplings, he arrived at the elementary school as scheduled. He, who values money greatly, secretly sponsors Red Moon Elementary School year after year, although he has sealed away that painful memory of his own. But he always feels an inexplicable sense of guilt towards the orphanage. Just as he was about to leave, he was stopped by Little Lou sitting in a wheelchair. He asked you to come and eat dumplings. Why you're sending money again? Little Lou asked with some confusion. Why did you send money again so soon? And how come you sent so much money last time? He started to worry if Exion was up to no good. He even asked if his kidneys were still there. Of course they are. Both are there. Exion has to admire Little Lou's imagination. He said he recently found a job. The boss is very generous. He definitely won't do anything bad. He remembers all the words of the old dean. Little Lou also shared happily with Exion the news that the school's formal qualifications has been approved. The children will be able to obtain legal status and continue their studies in middle school. Exion was somewhat surprised after listening that the orphanage was actually able to obtain the approval under the current conditions. She wondered if Colonel Chin and the Department of Special Circumstances had helped. She lowered her head to look at Little Lou in the wheelchair. She was originally a tall girl. It's a pity she has been sitting in a wheelchair all this time. Little Lou took out an envelope from the mailbox containing money. I don't need so much money now. Let Exion keep it for herself first. Even though I don't know what job Exion does, she must be very tired if she is given so much money. Exion asked Little Lou about what happened at Red Moon Bright Orphanage that year. He still couldn't remember what exactly happened. Little Lou's eyes avoided Exion after hearing that. He told Exion not to keep thinking about the past. Sometimes, not remembering certain things is also a blessing. Let's go! Let's go eat dumplings. They have eggs inside. Coming out of the orphanage, it was already night. This night felt very fulfilling to him. Exion, who was lost in his thoughts, did not notice that someone had been following him. He was still thinking about Teacher Lou's heartfelt smile. It was really beautiful. The man in sunglasses was still staring at him intently. He even showed a creepy smile. Exion stopped in his tracks at this moment. He turned his head and looked at that man, quietly observing him. The man was smiling very happily. Exion still watched him quietly. The man's smile gradually stiffened. Exion took out the pistol and aimed it at him. She pulled the trigger directly. The man was somewhat surprised and angry. He didn't expect Exion to shoot directly. He dodged the bullets with a strange agility, but one grazed his shoulder. Unable to hold back, he cursed Exion as a lunatic. Then he bounced up and leaped back, his body rising and falling as he fled to the rear. Exion obviously wouldn't just let him go like that. This person is too suspicious. But this man seems to be able to fly. It's as if with just a reach of his hand, he grabbed onto two invisible threads. During the escape, he kept provoking Exion to chase after him. The man easily leaped over a deep gap in the road, thinking that he wouldn't be able to follow. But he didn't expect Exion to jump over without hesitation. However, the man's clumsy body fell directly into the deep pit, where sharp steel bars awaited below. It would be certain death if he fell. Exion, however, remained calm. He quietly reached out his hand and called out to his sister. 17's tiny figure suddenly appeared with a bang, racing towards Exion at top speed. "Haha, brother, I'm here." In an instant, Exion's figure suddenly became agile, stepping on a sharp piece of steel rebar. Seizing the opportunity to jump into the air, Red Moon was there. His figure became ghostly. The man was instantly shocked. He did not expect Exion's originally clumsy figure would suddenly become unusually agile. His figure also immediately accelerated, rushing forward urgently. Two figures one after the other in the dark night. But in terms of speed, Exion was obviously faster. He was catching up quickly. With 100 meters to go, the figure of the opponent became clearer and clearer in Exion's eyes. Just saw the man leap onto the wall, climbing rapidly upwards. Is he trying to break through the wall? We can't let this person escape outside the wall. Seeing the other side about to break through the wall, Exion threw the gun into the air with force. Sister, shoot him. 17, jumping in the air, suddenly revealed a strange smile. The mysterious man kept provoking Exion with his agile steps. But soon he regretted it. The pride he had in his speed was directly crushed by Exion. They chased each other all the way to under the wall. It seemed he was about to escape outside the wall. Exion threw the pistol upwards with force. He called on his sister, who was already jumping in the air, to shoot him dead. Haha 17 tightly held the pistol and aimed at the rapidly climbing dark figure, firing continuously. The accuracy was top-notch. The bullet seemed to predict his movements, piercing through his neck directly. His whole head instantly shattered and flew out. This scene, however, caught Exion by surprise. How could a relatively low-powered revolver directly break this person's neck? Could it be that his body is more fragile than an ordinary person's? The headless body hung alone on the wall. Haha, all settled. The sister played with the toy in her hand and returned to Exion's side. But at that moment, the headless body suddenly convulsed. Leaning on its limbs, it continued to climb rapidly upwards. In an instant, it had already crossed over the wall. Oh no, Exion did not expect that the headless person could still move agilely. He hurried over and climbed the wall quickly. Upon reaching the top of the wall, relying on exceptionally keen vision, he saw a dark figure riding a motorcycle speeding away in the wilderness outside the wall. Soon, the headless corpse rode the motorcycle, twisted the throttle to the maximum, and disappeared deep into the wilderness. Who goes there? Raise your hands immediately, or we will open fire. Upon hearing the noise, the 4th Brigade of the City Patrol Corps arrived at the scene. Exion first stopped his sister with his eyes, then took out his Department of Special Circumstances identification and indicated that he needed to make a call. After receiving Exion's phone call, Jingchen arrived at the wall by helicopter. She asked about what happened with Exion and how he discovered the anomaly. I was walking on the road before, minding my own business. He kept staring at me, so I shot him. Jingchen felt a bit horrified. Because he was looking at you, you just shot him directly. Exion finally said that he saw that person. Live threads like parasites crawled out from behind. That person must have thought that Exion couldn't see him. So he was very at ease and still laughing there. He even stretched those threads towards his forehead. Exion wanted to figure out why that person was acting so strangely. So he chased after him. The person was very fast, unlike Spider Classic. He can use those threads to hook onto things from afar. It's like he can fly. I find it difficult to catch up with him. Until he was about to climb over the wall. So I decided to kill him. Just because you thought he was a bit strange? And you decided to kill him? It's because he appeared near the orphanage. Jingchen finally understood the key point. Because it posed a threat to the Red Moon Orphanage. So Exion made the decision without hesitation. At this time, the support team found the missing skull. They put it in a transparent glass box and brought it over. Exion suddenly felt a bit horrified. A body without a head can still run. It's so scary. Jingchen glanced at him. From a timing perspective, you are only having a horrified reaction now. Isn't it a bit slow? After taking off his glasses, Jingchen stared at the skull. You should blink your eyes. The lifeless skull suddenly trembled, as if wanting to open its eyes. Exion looked at Jingchen oddly. She could actually communicate with the skull. She saw that her pupils had turned red. You should tell me. Who are you? The skull continued to tremble for a moment. Unfortunately, after that slight tremble, it remained motionless. Failed. However, it seemed to be within her expectations. He had the support team on the side dissect it. The support team opened the carry-on luggage. Various props came into view. There was even a pregnancy test kit. Exion on the side was stunned. It seems like this support team has everything. It was only after cutting it open that they found out it was a mind reformer. Power is somewhat similar to Jingchen. Tools can be controlled through the mind. This should be done by a very powerful Puppet Classic power user. Puppet Classic is somewhat surprised to hear about this kind of power for the first time. This world is so crazy. Jingchen continues to educate Exion. Currently, the known powers have reached 9. Puppet Classic is one of them. In fact, there are doubts raised by the professors in Main City about Exion's power. Believe that Exion does not belong to Spider Classic. Instead, it is a newly discovered power type. With this suggestion, Exion's power classic should be called Family Gathering. She asked the support team to send the physical evidence to the research institute to see if they could find more valuable clues. At this moment, Jingchen also became serious. This matter must be taken seriously this time. The disaster brought by Technology Church to force Satellite Town 4 years ago can't happen again. Since the arrival of the Red Moon, the world has been in chaos ever since. There are many organizations outside the wall. They are also recruiting spiritual mutants. They are crazier and more unrestrained in the use and development of power. But these Exion are indifferent. What he cares about is what will happen if these people target the orphanage again. What should be done? Jingchen can see the importance of the orphanage to Exion. If something happens to the orphanage that causes him to lose control and go on a rampage, it would be a catastrophic disaster for the second city. Immediately call and notify Red Moon Elementary School to pay close attention. Arrange the best location for them with the reason of teardown and redevelopment. They have to be on guard regardless of whether the people outside the city are coming for the orphanage. She then ordered that starting from today, all special task forces will cancel their holidays. A comprehensive citywide inspection and cleanup operation will be carried out. Exion's next step is to go to the company and ask for leave from the chief. After all, from the salary perspective, with a base salary of 5,000 and an additional 1,000, he can clearly distinguish which is more important. The reason for applying to the chief is that Exion needs to take care of his little sister who is sick. 17, who was enjoying his meal on the side, paused when he heard this. Little did he know that the chief was even more delighted than him. It can be considered that they have successfully removed this big shot who carries a gun to work every day. He agreed immediately. Exion didn't expect Chief to be so understanding and reasonable. Quickly promised that his younger sister is fine. He just returned to work. During the period of being on standby at the security department, you don't have to do anything. Not only are meals provided, but there is also a daily subsidy of 200 yuan for meal expenses. Exion is so happy. Until the third day. The earphones rang with the voice of Bing Han. A suspected special pollution source was found at the mine cave complex in the northern part of the city, and Exion needs to go over and deal with it. The incident originated from a report by the local inhabitants, claiming that someone was following her. However, upon investigation, it was found that there was no such tracking incident. It was simply the woman's delusion. During the questioning process, it was discovered that not only this woman who made the report, but the entire local inhabitants were in a state of inexplicable tension. They were constantly shrouded in fear, even experiencing hallucinations. 2 people have already gotten into a fight due to excessive emotional stress, resulting in 1 person being killed. The investigation team intervened in the investigation process. It has been preliminarily determined that there is a phenomenon of spiritual pollution. However, the investigation process has encountered obstacles. They are afraid and unable to conduct the investigation work. In the blink of an eye, Exion arrived at the mine cave complex as instructed. Leading the investigation team was Hui Chung, who approached Xian with gratitude. After all, in the Ranqing case, his life was saved by Xian. They are near Building C and have detected obvious psychic power radiation. However, they all failed in the process of entering Building C. So it's impossible to determine the exact location of the pollution source. When entering the location from the 9th to 12th floors, you will feel an inexplicable fear. When the fear reaches its limit, you may even experience strong dizziness and fainting. Xian asked Bing Han what the reason is. Bing Han speculated that it might be due to the impact of this particular pollution source, distorting people's emotions and amplifying feelings of fear. Her suggestion is to first identify the pollution source before deciding whether to clean it up or seal it off. Looked up at Building C. It does give one a slightly eerie feeling. Came to the 6th floor. Indeed, there is a growing sense of fear, subconsciously making people not want to get closer. If even you cannot resist this feeling of fear, you can retreat. Xian, however, said he had already gotten used to this feeling before. After all, his father is afraid of the ceiling. Arriving at a dim corridor, Xian saw a faint white spot swiftly approaching him. There was no sound, and it was twisted and weird. It turned out to be 17. She looked a bit resentful as she gazed at Xian. "Brother, you've changed your mind. Busy chatting with women, pretending not to see me waiting for you." Xian pulled her into his arms. Taking out a piece of candy from his pocket, 17 happily accepted it with both hands. The arrival of his younger sister made Xian feel much more at ease. This kind of fear seemed much weaker compared to his initial encounter with family members. Ultimately, he realized that the fear on the 10th floor was the strongest. Through careful sensing, he found the room where the pollution source was located. The intense fear emanating from it made people feel as if they were standing at the gates of hell. Looking at the closed door, Xian pondered on how to open this door lock. 17, who was eating candy, glanced at the door, then slipped out of Xian's arms. I saw her reach out her hand, and with a grab, the iron door was torn open like paper. Xian held out a thumbs up to his younger sister as a sign of approval. This really made 17 show off with arrogance. Just pushed open the door. A breathtaking stench hits you in the face. Inside is a figure crumpled on the ground. The smell emanates from him. What makes Xian cautious is the silhouette on the balcony. He sits quietly by the window, gazing at the scenery outside. That strong sense of fear originates from that silhouette. The younger sister's eyes lit up as she stared at that silhouette. Xian naturally knew what her younger sister wanted to do. She immediately asked 17 to dispel the idea. "Don't bully him." Xian approached him. She asked him softly if they could communicate. However, the shadow just sat there quietly, hugging his knees, without any response. He reported to Bing Han that it had been confirmed. It's just an ordinary pollution source. After turning around, he switched on the light in the room. He clearly saw the corpse lying on the ground. As the lights came on, the dark figure began to disappear. Even the sense of fear in this room seemed to dissipate a lot. Multiple areas of decay have already appeared on the body. It looks like they have been dead for about 4 to 5 days. Judging from the position in which he crawled off the bed, it seems that he was trying to reach for this bottle of medicine before he died. But he failed. At this time, Bing Han also found information about the deceased. Living alone. No registered relatives. From this bottle of nitroglycerin, the deceased may have died due to a sudden heart attack, unable to get the medication in time. Bing Han suggests using a special containment bag to contain the body first, cutting off the pollution source's connection with the outside. Xian agreed and put the body in the bag. After sealing it up, he then informed the support team downstairs to enter. He asked Bing Han how this pollution source was formed. Bing Han analyzed that the young man lived alone without family or friends. It should be the intense emotions before death that caused his mind to undergo mutation. He had no harmful intentions, so he just formed a pollution source below the level D instead of a spirit monster. Leaving behind a pollution source filled only with fear should be because he was very scared. No one can even find out if they die, concerned about their own fear. Exion instinctively glanced over. Not far away, the little sister is playing with toys. I am fortunate to have family with me. As Exion left, she looked at the room. Is this investigation almost over? I hope there won't be more pollution incidents like this in the future. Bing Han sensed that Exion's mood seemed a bit low. He asked if Exion was feeling somewhat resistant to similar pollution incidents. Exion does indeed dislike this type of thing. However, since he has received his salary, he must do his job well. Speaking of which, he also asked about the compensation for this time. Don't worry. I've got your back. I am on your side. Tasks like this one. The difficulty level is not even as high as D level. In general, the remuneration is only around 10,000. But I can at least help you apply for 12,000. Exion felt instantly better after listening. Bing Han and I started another endless cycle of thanking each other. Silver boasts that even 17 on the side couldn't bear to listen. Why don't you just go to Main City to thank her in person? Are you lacking a girlfriend? Exion suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Don't talk nonsense, little sister. She is a colleague. Don't even think about it, I'm telling you. Girls from Main City are all pampered. They are beautiful and have good personalities. I heard they are like little fairies who don't need toilet paper when they go to the bathroom. And you are just a small employee from Satellite Town. Is it reasonable to not use toilet paper? I don't know where you heard such things, little sister. A car appeared behind Exion. A young person in the car pointed at Exion. Is that Mr. Su, the single unit? The old man looked in the direction he was pointing. Is it true that he has a high risk of losing control? At least from the current information, he actually shows the least amount of loss of control. He is the only one able to directly see and solve the spiritual monsters. So far, there is only him. The old man nodded. He didn't have any other choice anyway. But this is a private commission. It must be ensured that there is no direct contact with the cleaning department. No problem. You just need to set a time. The old man sighed softly. Then let's make it tomorrow. The old gentleman is willing to pay 10,000 yuan to Exion as remuneration. Even if the treatment is unsuccessful, there will be an additional 1,000 yuan as compensation. Upon hearing about the 10,000 yuan, Exion was so excited that he almost squeezed Mr. Lu's hand to pieces. He made sure there was nothing wrong with the person before releasing his hand. He made a call to the person above to apply for something, indicating to his sister standing aside that she could let go of her hand. No need to tear his hand off. That's it. Exion took on some private work. Got in Mr. Lu's car. There is no way to refuse. After all, they are paying too much. Looking out of the car window, he was a bit puzzled. Why are there so many more couples on the streets recently? And they are all holding red roses. The car came to a stop in a villa area. Exion entered the villa together with Mr. Lu. The extremely luxurious decoration caught their eyes. He thought it would be great if the orphanage could be built in this place. That would be wonderful. He curiously asked Mr. Lu how much this big house would cost. It is said that someone once offered 5 million. The old man did not sell. During this period, 5 million is a huge sum of money. It seems that buying a house is still a long and difficult journey. He took the power of attorney that Mr. Lu handed to him. Whether he can receive the 100,000 yuan is still uncertain. Of course, we do not encourage it either. If there are changes in the risk after the fact, it must be reported in a timely manner. Even if the condition cannot be cured, there is a reward of 10,000 yuan. It's a good deal no matter how you think about it. At this time, the old man walked over with a group behind him. Medical personnel were pushing a huge iron box. Mr. Lu also tactfully stood up. He did not participate in the specific treatment process. Subsequently, he left with the medical staff. Only the elderly person and Exion were left at the scene. There was also a clank-clang sounding iron box. The elderly person saw Exion's confusion. He said straightforwardly that inside the box was his daughter. Her name is Xiao, and she is 21 years old this year. She only graduated from Main City University last year. But just 3 months ago, shortly after getting engaged, she suddenly went crazy. The old man consulted many experts, but none could pinpoint a specific reason. Therefore, he can only suspect that his daughter has been contaminated. Exion was very concerned about the old man's daughter and asked why he hadn't entrusted her to the Institute of Special Pollution Research, given how serious her condition had become. In fact, the old man is really helpless. If the news of Zhao's contamination gets out, even if she is cured, her reputation will still be seriously affected. The old man sighed. He stood up and slowly opened the box. A beautiful girl appeared in front of Exion. She was tightly fixed inside the box. She even had a plastic rod in her mouth. Her condition is sexual addiction. Like an animal, can have sexual intercourse crazily with any creature. Indeed, she is crazy enough. Only now does Exion understand why the old man wants to find someone to treat his daughter privately. The old man described the general situation to Exion with some difficulty. In the beginning, she was found having an affair with a servant at home. At that time, she was still behaving normally. She said it was just a moment of impulse. However, she quickly became somewhat hysterical, socializing in bars with many people, and started to become uncontrollable. Exion didn't find anything after listening. Cannot see the pollution source temporarily. Looks like it needs to take some action. Read to this point. He asked the old man if he could let her go. The old man expressed that if she were let go, she would go crazy and might even rush towards Exion directly. Exion immediately stated that he could control the situation, and he had a gun. This made the old man unable to mess around. It is not necessary to resort to firing the gun. After a struggle, the old man finally pressed the button next to the iron box. As he gently pressed it, all the straps restraining his daughter automatically came undone. The body that had been twitching incessantly suddenly lost its restraint and collapsed to the ground. In an instant, her eyes were filled with blood vessels as she pounced towards Exion like a wild beast. Just as she was about to pounce in front of him, Exion also started to take action, grabbing her hand that was reaching towards him, pressing his knee against her back, using his body weight to restrain the actions of this girl, who was acting like a maniac. Just then, 17 also appeared by Exion's side. She pointed to the girl's back. "Brother, look at this!" Looking through the clothes, I vaguely saw the girl's body. Something seems wrong. Exion tore off a big piece of the clothes on the girl's back. A face with a strange smile appeared in front of them. At this moment, the girl suddenly let out a loud and piercing scream. Her back unexpectedly grew tentacles. The old man behind her was also startled. Although he could not see the pollution source, the hysteria in his daughter's piercing scream made him tense instantly. "Don't move." Exion quickly stopped the old man, who was trying to come over. Countless tentacles grew on the girl's back, swaying like a group of seaweed swaying with the seawater. The faces on the tentacles bore various eerie expressions. They all looked at Exion in unison. The fair and beautiful young lady of a wealthy family. Something is hidden on her back. Upon tearing it open, it was discovered to be a face revealing a sinister smile. After being able to see the spiritual monsters, Exion discovered a dense mass of tentacles all surged towards him. They all had a strange expression on their faces as they laughed towards Exion. Exion, whose brain circuitry was abnormal, surprisingly found them very warm. He awkwardly showed a smile in return. However, 17 laughed even more happily. The tentacles that wanted to get close to the big brother were all torn off. After seeing this scene, the other tentacles immediately showed a terrified expression. They seemed to realize that the little girl in front of them was very dangerous. Almost at the same time, they all dispersed in all directions. In an instant, wherever the tentacles touched seemed to come to life. The table suddenly transformed into a girl, exuding an irresistible charm. Some of them lingered on a potted plant. The green plant instantly transformed into a slender green-haired girl. The old man was also affected. Various images flooded into his mind. Let those tentacles change as they please. Immune to pollution source, it had no effect on him. He thought that only very abnormal people would be attracted to those tentacles. Xian felt a bit helpless. His sister didn't come over to lean on his shoulder this time. Instead, she happily played on her own without needing his help. But at this moment, his sister found that as soon as she approached, those tentacles disappeared. Brother, the tentacles are gone. Clueless 17 is unaware. When she wasn't paying attention, the tentacles emerged again. Although the younger sister is powerful, but the huge number of tentacles are too cunning. They retract as soon as the younger sister approaches them. Seems like she's being toyed with by them. As the older brother, Xian, how can we prevent the younger sister from being at a disadvantage? He began to analyze it. Theoretically speaking, psychic power cannot be killed. My sister has torn off quite a few tentacles up to now, but the overall number doesn't seem to have decreased. Each pollution source has its own key core. Seems like you've figured something out. He reached out and began to draw his gun. His gaze fell on the motionless girl on the ground. So, the problem was still with her. At the moment he drew his gun, all the lurking tentacles around suddenly became extremely tense. They all returned to the girl's back again, one after another. It seems that Xian's analysis was correct. The problem does lie with the girl indeed. Countless tentacles intertwined like twists, forming a huge tentacle. Suddenly opening a large mouth towards 17, who wanted to get closer, revealing sharp teeth. If this were a normal child, they would definitely be scared and cry at this scene. But 17's eyes lit up, revealing an excitement that was hard to conceal. She also opened her mouth wide like tentacles, revealing those sharp fangs as sharp as blades. She bit down on the ugly tentacles in front of her in one bite. The tentacles only realized this then. Compared to the little girl in front of her, I'm just a piece of spicy stick. All trembled and wanted to shrink back into the girl's body. After the lesson just now, 17 had already learned to be clever. Both little hands held tightly. They tried hard to pull them out. Can't run away now, right? Looking at his sister, who was eating with relish, Xian's face turned green. This child really puts everything in her mouth. With the disappearance of the pollution source, the old man also returned to normal. He came to Xian in a panic, eagerly asking about his daughter's condition. Looking at her sister eating zero food next to the girl, Xian didn't know if she was okay. But the contamination should have been resolved. As the elderly person kept calling out the name of his daughter, the girl slowly opened her eyes. Just regained some consciousness, but suddenly became nervous. That thing. Suddenly saw other people in the room. She stopped. Seems like there is a secret. Hurriedly asked her father to take Xian out first. Seeing that they seemed to be discussing something confidential, Xian also tactfully walked out to get some fresh air. What they didn't know was, her little sister was still inside the room eating spicy strips. Not long after, 17 excitedly told Xian what she overheard. Brother, they were discussing an oil painting. Xiao said he was going to pick up the goods. The team that scavenged for the oil painting all died. She hid that painting away. Want to sneak it back to main city for research. Oil painting? Is it a pollution source? The old man walked out with his daughter. He expressed his gratitude to Xian for the help, thinking it would be a better excuse to take care of his daughter. He was preparing to take her back to main city for recuperation overnight. Before he could finish speaking, Xian shook his head and interrupted him. He is a principled person. It's not time for payment yet. The pollution source has not been dealt with. The problem is not completely resolved. The old man seemed very anxious, indicating that his daughter is now fine. He is willing to pay Xian double the reward, hoping that this matter can be resolved here. 17 came to Xian's side, saying that they are in a hurry to go to a place called Bungbu Port to pick up something. They are now anxious to hurry you away. If there is a problem with that painting, it will really cause trouble. It could harm more than just the father and daughter. He, who is serious about his work, only hopes to resolve the issue of the pollution source. 200,000 is excellent, but... The girl, however, raised the gun and pointed it at Xian at this moment. He believed Xian saw them as coming from the main city. Just wanted to deceive them. Even more so, she bluntly said she would shoot and kill Xian now. The administrative hall would also not consider her guilty. Seeing the girl harboring thoughts of harming her brother, 17 quietly came up behind her. A swiping sound. The claws slashed out into thin air. Not as many lives as Ranqin. It's better not to point a gun at Xian. Usually, there won't be any good results. Everything within the grip of the pistol was instantly dissected meticulously. Scattered from 17's hands, with a clattering sound on the ground. Never have the thought of harming this man. Otherwise, you won't even know how you die. The daughter of a wealthy person relies on her background in main city. They dare to threaten Xian with a gun. The next second, the hand gripping the gun suddenly scattered on the ground. Hearing the heart-wrenching screams of his daughter, the old man suddenly lost his composure. How could you do this? Even if you are from that department, you cannot harm my daughter like this. What the old man didn't know was that Xian had been trying to protect her all along. If he hadn't spoken up in time to stop it, 17 would have disassembled her completely. But just at that moment, someone else was foolishly aiming at Xian from a distance. With a bang, a bullet shot out of the gun barrel. The bullet was extremely fast. By the time the gunshot rang out, it had already reached Xian's eyes. You'd better not do this. His head suddenly tilted. The movement was extremely strange and fast. The bullet flew past his cheek. He was not happy at this moment. He leaped up and climbed to the second floor. He had already spotted the position of the shooter hiding in the distance. The bodyguard who wanted to fire a second shot was caught off guard when Xian suddenly appeared in front of him. Startled, he hesitantly asked if Xian was a human or a ghost. Xian didn't waste any words and used one hand to push him down. In the eyes of bystanders, as the bodyguard was sent flying, his body began to contort into a ball shape, making a muffled sound upon impact with the ground. He didn't die, but was reassembled like a toy, leaving only his mouth wide open in terror. At this moment, the bodyguards on the outskirts of the villa hurried over. Without saying a word, he raised his gun at Xian. Seeing this, Xian asked his younger sister behind him to handle it. Okay, brother. 17 approached a bodyguard. Ordinary people couldn't see 17. The bodyguard suddenly found his body starting to lose control. She controlled the bodyguard's hand, turning the gun towards those who wanted to harm her brother. Without hesitation, she pulled the trigger. Those who hadn't reacted yet fell to the ground with a thud. The bodyguard then turned the gun back towards himself. He was powerless to stop it. All that was left was panic. The desperate cries for help abruptly stopped after a gunshot. Fine. 17 happily dismantled the pistol. The newly arrived bodyguards were instantly wiped out by Xian. The younger sister seemed to have thought of something at this moment. She looked up and glanced at her brother. At this moment, she was like a child who had done something wrong. She was afraid that her brother would be upset. Because Xian usually doesn't allow 17 to hurt others like this. This time, Xian didn't blame her. Instead, he indulgently stroked her little head. It's okay. Mr. Liu's voice started to tremble. Among all the power users he had encountered, Xian was the only one who made him genuinely fearful. Did I not reason with her? She was the one who pointed the gun at me first. Xian looked very calm, without any hint of anger or resentment on her face. But it gave Mr. Liu a sense of horror. Do you really think you can act recklessly just because you joined that department? The old man is still roaring weakly. Xian did not intend to bully anyone. Of course, no one should bully him either. That painting is not something you can handle. If something goes wrong, it won't just be your problem. The old man was stunned after hearing this. Clearly, he had not expected that his secret had already been discovered by Xian. Dealing with pollution sources is one of his principles. He decided to report the old man's secret pollution source to the authorities. Since you were not cooperative first, this cannot be considered a breach of contract on my part. After all, if I breach the contract, I won't get paid. Let's clarify things first. Xian immediately dialed Jing Chen's phone number. She detailed the threats she received and the incident involving the vice president to her. Shortly after, Jing Chen and the support team arrived at the villa. Being efficient, she went straight to the point and asked the elderly person where the painting was. Colonel Chen, I know your department has a lot of power. But this time, you need to explain to me. The elderly person directly complained to Jing Chen about Xian's behavior. Unexpectedly, Jing Chen immediately entered a protective mode and stated that Xian's workflow was not an issue. If you feel that he did something wrong, you can file a complaint. Our headquarters will make the judgment. Jing Chen seems to know him, and is aware that they usually hire private scavenger teams to transport things into main city for themselves. But some things will cross the line. Jing Chen asked the elderly person to go with her to retrieve the painting, and then wait for judgment. Those who break the rules must pay a price. This is the bottom line of their Qingyang city. The support team later successfully found the oil painting at Bengbu port. Jing Chen asked the father and daughter to tell the truth. They knew that even if they didn't speak, Jing Chen, who possesses hypnotic class power, could make them talk. The old man then revealed that 2 months ago, the scavenging team claimed to have found some valuable items. At that time, he couldn't get away, so he sent his daughter Xiao to meet with them. Jing Chen's pupils dilated and turned red when he heard this, looking at Xiao. Miss Su, please tell me everything you know. Xiao's pupils suddenly turned red. Tell me everything that happened that day. By the time she arrived, all the members of the search team were already dead. Even though I don't know what happened, those things are all there. And there was something else that they hadn't mentioned before, that painting. Since seeing that painting, she has been deeply drawn to it. Without her father knowing, she secretly hid the painting herself. After successfully keeping it a secret from her father, her mood improved significantly. She wanted to share with someone. The feeling gradually grew stronger, and she couldn't resist anymore. She called Ah Chong, who was on night duty, into the bedroom. The feeling was too wonderful. She still wanted to see that painting now. She didn't want to be woken up. After understanding the specific situation, Jing Chen asked them to get off the car. Someone will escort them to headquarters for further investigation. Only Xian and Jing Chen were left in the car. Xian curiously asked what the painting really was. In his understanding, only living people could become pollution sources. Such items are called psychic parasitic items. Through certain power or methods, some items are able to carry and store psychic power. The car was halfway through the journey when it suddenly encountered a traffic jam up ahead. A girl in a wedding dress was holding a bouquet of red roses, standing in the middle of the road proposing to a man. The boy ignored her crazy move, turned around, and tried to run away. But he found himself unable to break free from the girl's hand. I already love you so much. Why can't you love me the same way? At this moment, the girl's mental state obviously seems a bit off. She suddenly pounced on the boy and kissed him directly. I love you. Never want to be apart from you. So, I'm going to eat you up. In an instant, the girl's kiss turned into a bite. The girl's mind was contaminated. Her words and actions became extremely crazy. Not only did she propose to her ex-boyfriend in the middle of the street, she not only kissed the boy directly, but also displayed extreme possessiveness. She never wants to be separated from the boy. A thought of devouring him even crossed her mind. The kiss turned into a bite. Roses scattered on the ground. The girl started screaming frantically. The voice seemed to have a magical power, constantly assaulting the eardrums of everyone around. The crowd instantly became just like the girl, all becoming passionate for love. They could feel that something was very different. Jing-chun, who was far away in the car, suddenly changed his expression. At a glance, it was clear that this was a sudden spiritual pollution incident. Immediately called for Xian to fasten his seatbelt. Quickly turned the steering wheel. At the same time, stepped on the gas pedal to the maximum. But due to the chaos in front, many vehicles have already piled up around. The car is trapped in the middle with no way out. At this moment, Jing-chun made a decision. She slammed on the gas pedal and crashed into the guardrail. The intense emotions continued to spread. More and more people were contaminated. After breaking through the iron fence, Jing-chun immediately picked up the phone and said, "The second satellite town, east of Jiujiang Road, has experienced a sudden spiritual pollution incident. Send people to clean up quickly." Little did she know, at this moment, a middle-aged man was approaching. He was smiling and cheerfully got out of the car. He slung a rocket launcher over his shoulder, squinting with one eye. He aimed at the jeep that Jing-chun had just driven out of the iron railing and pulled the trigger directly. "Uh-huh. Brother, run quickly." 17 sitting in the back suddenly smirked at Xian. The sister laughed. Life and death are unpredictable. The corner of the eye stared at the streak of fire that was coming rapidly. It seemed to slow down all of a sudden. The rocket exploded under the side of the jeep with a loud bang. Instantly, flames shot up into the sky. In the moment of the explosion, he saw his sister reaching out her hand to him. "Brother, I'll help you." Sister's power helped Xian to alleviate a lot of the impact force. The heavy and solid jeep was directly blasted away. At this moment, a familiar figure came into view. He was carrying a box containing oil paintings in his hand. Just before getting on the car, the man suddenly turned around and looked back. A strange smile appeared on his face. Surprisingly, it was Ranqin. Isn't he supposed to be in the containment center? Could it be another Ranqin? A strange sensation of hair standing on end suddenly filled Xian's mind, until hearing Jing-chun's voice. Xian then reacted. Looking back, I saw that Jing-chun had already kicked open the car door at this time and was struggling to climb out. He kept asking Xian if he was okay. "I'm fine." His voice was already hoarse. 17's eyes lit up, looking at Xian's thighs scratched by the glass. "So much blood. Brother, you are injured." Perhaps the bright blood color stimulated her. Xian felt like she was about to burst into laughter. "Brother, don't cry. When there are many wounds, it won't hurt." The icy cold little hand gently touched Xian's injured leg. The wound healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The pain disappeared instantly. Jing-chun, who climbed out of the car, completely ignored his own injuries. Urgently asked Xian if he had seen Ranqin. Xian understood her meaning. Just as he was about to go and keep Ranqin, his younger sister tugged at his sleeve and pointed to the side for him to look. The cars stuck on the road all opened their doors at the same time. The people inside all got out together. They had blank expressions on their faces. They lifted 6 cylindrical gun barrels arranged together, pointed towards the location of Xian and Jing-chun. "Oh no!" Jing-chun suddenly took a deep breath, because what they were holding in their hands were heavy-duty multiple-barrel Gatling guns with extremely high lethality. Suddenly, all the gun barrels started rotating at the same time. Terrifying firepower was sweeping towards them. At this moment, even Jing-chun felt despair at this moment. Watching the bullets flying densely, Xian's heart pounded violently. It hurt a lot. But Xian felt somewhat familiar with it. That was the feeling of despair. He automatically raised his hand, blocking in front of him, clearly sensing the endless bullets flying towards him, but he was not harmed. Xian vaguely felt a shadow approaching in front of him. It was a strange sense of security. Silly child. Didn't we agree not to let ourselves be bullied? Why is it still so dangerous? Mom bent down and hugged Xian and her sister, letting the bullets fall on oneself. Facing the firepower cover of 5 Gatling guns, Xian subconsciously raised his hand. He detested this feeling of despair. At the critical moment, Mother quietly appeared in front of him, blocking all the bullets. If his mother had not appeared, when the aura of destruction enveloped him, this man might have done something unimaginably crazy. Jingchen, standing behind Xian, had already widened her eyes. She saw a scene that would stay with her for the rest of her life. Countless bullets were suspended in midair. In Jingchen's eyes, Xian seemed to be holding up a shield of psychic power in the shape of a person. To be able to withstand the simultaneous firing of 5 multi-barrel J guns, this must be an incredibly powerful spiritual level. At the same time, I also felt an indescribable fear. Was the Red Moon Orphanage destroyed by this level of psychic power? She forcibly made herself sober. Her bright red pupils stared intensely at the people madly shooting in front of her. You are holding the most powerful weapon in your hands. Have them. You can destroy everything in front of you. You who possess this kind of power. Do you feel like the king of the world? But there can only be one king. Since you all have such weapons, why not try whose firepower is stronger? Her voice has an unusually penetrating power. Under Jing Chen's hypnosis, these people holding Gatling suddenly became bewildered. Yes, I am the king of the world. They turned the barrels around. They were firing at each other with the same weapons they were holding. Seeing the wounds caused by the bullets, what flowed out was not blood. Xian then realized who these few were. They were the mentally reconstructed individuals left behind by Ran Qin. Mom was like dusting off. Countless bullets fell off her. Not a single wound. There wasn't even a wrinkle on her clothes. She looked at Xian with a smile. This time, you were really bullied badly. Xian lowered his head slowly and self-deprecatingly. Yes, he almost died. At the same time, Jingchen instructed the person on the phone to immediately seal off the second satellite town. The painting has been taken away. All of this seems like a prearranged situation. But when it comes to the red roses, suddenly a special contamination has spread. She was suddenly startled. She immediately ordered the second satellite town to issue a level 1 alert. The shrill alarm sounded throughout the city's airspace. In the memories of the people in the city, this kind of alarm has not sounded for nearly 10 years. At this moment, the madmen contaminated by the red rose are sweeping through the city like a tide. People are fleeing in panic. Level 1 alert. It used to happen only during large-scale collective actions of madmen, when they attacked the walled city. Jing Chen informed Xian about the situation after giving the orders. The second satellite town is not the only place. Signs of serious large-scale pollution emergencies have also appeared in other city districts in various directions. Jing Chen suddenly noticed that Xian seemed to be acting strangely at this moment. His mysterious expression made it unclear whether he was smiling or pondering something. Ah! Things have gotten messy. Looking at the chaotic scene in the city, Mom chuckled softly. She looked Xian straight in the eye, smiling ambiguously as she asked how Xian wanted to proceed. I am also considering what to do. Eyes devoid of any emotion, staring intensely in the direction Ran Qin left. Mom came to his side. That person is very cruel. He snatched your painting, almost harmed you and your sister, and then left in a carefree manner. He is probably still laughing to himself. You are all fools. Look at your sister. What kind of frightened look she is now. 17 stares at Xian warily, with a look as if she's ready to escape at any moment. Xian suddenly became a bit agitated at the sight. It seems more like his sister is scared of him. Jing Chen shouted anxiously at Xian. She sensed a dangerous aura emanating from Xian's body. Her intuition told her so. At this moment, Xian's emotions must be in a very bad state. No. You have to keep talking to him at this time. The entire second satellite town has been threatened by pollution. Single unit. Do you still have the power to perform the task? What did you say? The whole city is in chaos? Xian's face finally showed some human-like worried expression. Jing Chen nodded and continued. Everyone in the second satellite town is under threat, he said on the phone. Without waiting for Jing Chen to finish, he hurriedly rushed forward. The sentence, everyone in the second satellite town is under threat, seemed to strike a nerve with him. He started worrying about Red Moon Elementary School. Arriving at the chaotic road, he saw a motorcycle lying on its side. The owner, who was injured in the recent accident, was in pain and pinned to the ground. Xian went over and helped lift the motorcycle. The owner shouted a loud thank you to him, but before he could finish, he saw Xian straddling the motorcycle and revving the throttle. The owner who was left behind was directly stunned. Was this a motorcycle robbery? The sister kept a close watch on Xian. At this moment, she appeared in front of the car dragging a teddy bear toy. Brother. Xian did not have that scary look on his face. 17 suddenly showed a smile on his face. Watching Xian's current actions, Jing Chen finally relaxed. She made a phone call. The pollution on Jiujiang Road is spreading. Suspecting that it is related to a girl who has proposed. The polluted object. It seems that there is an extraordinary love for one's lover, and accompanied by extreme possessiveness. The kind of desire to devour the other party. She has issued 2 orders to all investigation teams. Immediately stop and interrogate anyone who exhibits abnormal behavior or mental state. If the other party is desperate to find a partner, in all senses of the term, and cannot be persuaded, killing is allowed. Secondly, immediately broadcast through all media such as TV and radio to inform everyone to lock their doors and windows tightly and hide immediately. Do not think about searching for your family, especially fuck couples. Same-sex couples are included. Everyone, the safety of the second satellite town depends only on us. The mother, who has always been by Jing Chen's side, suddenly showed a faint smile. She was curious about how Xian would handle this matter. Let's go! 17 sat on the motorcycle, holding on to her brother tightly with both hands. They happily shouted all the way. The motorcycle's tailpipe was spewing long black smoke as it sped towards the city center. This is the city center located in the second satellite town. It is now in chaos. Xian is speeding through the city on a motorcycle. The motorcycle in his hands. It has turned into the most flexible tool in the world. He sees many crazy scenes. Some people are holding their loved ones, wanting to eat each other to never be separated. Seeing the ant with a red armband holding a loudspeaker, instructing the panicked crowd to quickly hide inside the rolling shutter doors behind her. He also sees soldiers from the investigative team moving various obstacles to guard important traffic points. It's getting closer. Ahead is the newly relocated orphanage. He speeds up the motorcycle to the extreme again. Far away, you can see a row of armed soldiers standing downstairs at the orphanage. Xian's heart suddenly rose to his throat. Could it be that he was still too late? You all must be safe. He threw the motorcycle aside and walked forward quickly. He saw that the person arriving was Mr. Single Unit. The soldiers immediately approached. Xian recognized the leader as Hui Cheng, who had worked on missions together before. Xian hurriedly asked about the situation at the orphanage above. Everyone is fine. No one was affected. Colonel Chen has given orders. If there is any trouble in the city, we must come to protect it immediately. Thoughtful Jing Chen. The reason for having the orphanage moved here is also because the headquarters of the investigation team is right next door. Xian lost his communicator. Hui Cheng handed him a new one. And it also included a miniature camera and a portable metal detector. After connecting the line, the earphones played a gentle but somewhat nervous voice of Bing Han. The information analysis team is in place. Mr. Single Unit? Single Unit is in place. Learning that the orphanage is safe and sound, his suspended heart finally let go. Great. Mr. Single Unit. Please report on your current situation. Xian's heart quivered slightly. After rushing over regardless of everything, he found that his concerns had been anticipated by others and proper arrangements had been made. He is now feeling very reassured. Bing Han then reported the specific situation of the current task to Xian. In the second satellite town, for large pollution sources have appeared simultaneously. In addition, both the first and the fifth satellite town have signs of suspected spiritual pollution source outbreaks. Headquarters has sent a special condemnation team to rush over. The situation is most severe in the second satellite town. What Xian needs to do immediately is to go to the Wanzhong market and resolve the spreading event of spiritual pollution there. At this moment, Hui Cheng has already helped him pick up the motorcycle that fell on the ground. But Xian just waved his hand, indicating that he didn't need it anymore. Looking at the chaotic city. Since Jing Chen helped protect the person he wanted to protect, then the person Jing Chen wants to protect will be protected by him. He took out a secretly hidden candy and threw it up. Sister, for you. 17 jumped up happily, reached out to grab the candy in the air. When she grabbed the candy, Xian also grabbed 17's other hand. Crimson pupils suddenly lit up. The figure became exceptionally agile in an instant. Sister, let's go. He leaped into the air and climbed to the top of the building at a strange speed. Soon he disappeared into the darkness. Hui Cheng watched Xian's departing figure with a look of respect on his face. Mr. Single Unit. The safety of Qingang City depends on you. The red moon is rising. The night envelopes the entire city. Xian, who swiftly maneuvers through the city, is like a spider climbing the walls. Bing Han told him about the causes of the Wanzhong shopping mall incident. A man saw himself by accident. The wife greeted a male friend. Suddenly lost control, pushed his wife from the third floor of the mall. He regretted it and jumped down after her. Onlookers witnessed the incident. Many people suddenly showed strong emotions and abnormal behaviors. From the chaotic scene, it can be confirmed as a sudden outbreak of a spiritual pollution event. Just now, Ms. Jing Chen Madam has submitted the initial investigation report on the girl who was proposed to. He suspects it is similar to the special pollution incident at Wanzhong Shopping Mall. She reported the investigation report to Xian. The core key point of this special pollution incident is red rose flowers. The pollution source is suspected to be human intervention for manufacturing, thereby promoting its spread. Red rose flowers? Xian then recalled a previous incident on the street where many couples suddenly appeared holding roses. Could this matter also be related to Ranqing? Jing Chen learned through inquiry that the girl on Jiujiang Road, during the early stage of contamination, once received a rose. Subsequently, she exhibited significant emotional abnormalities and developed an extreme admiration for the giver of the rose. In the end, at the entrance of Jiujiang Road, her emotions reached a peak, causing a strong emotional impact on those around her. This instantly triggered the second stage of contamination. Currently, it cannot be confirmed whether the third stage of contamination will occur. Xian couldn't help but feel a slight shock in her heart after listening. Just one girl can suddenly influence so many people. If those impacted by her can influence others again, causing a third outbreak of pollution, it will affect everyone in Satellite Town. As they arrive at Wanzhong Mall, Bing Han suggests 2 action goals for Xian. 1. Remove the red rose parasite and cut off its pollution to the surroundings. 2. Look for secondarily polluted individuals and stop their spread. Xian, standing on the building opposite, looks down. Countless fervent crowds are pouring crazily out of the entrance like sewage, engulfing the city. It may not be so easy to stop their spread now. However, Bing Han still suggests starting by cleaning the pollution source in Wanzhong Mall, which is the red rose parasite. Okay. Xian leaped from the building and dove towards Wanzhong Mall. He was seen kicking open a piece of tempered glass at the periphery of the mall directly. He landed directly next to the circular well on the second floor. He looked down at the first floor through the circular well. Is that the pollution source? He immediately leaped down towards pollution source on the lower floor. A man covered in blood appeared in front of him, still holding the body of a woman. He knelt on the ground. Both the man and the woman had been dead for a long time. Mr. Single Unit, have you found the pollution source? Through the camera on Xian's chest, Bing Han saw the surrounding environment. I think so. He saw a huge rose growing out of the man's mouth. The petals, like blood, exuded an invisible magic around them. Have you ever seen a rose growing in someone's mouth? The man, in a moment of impulse, pushed his wife off the third floor of the mall. Overwhelmed with regret, he jumped after her. The intense emotional turmoil led to a sudden mental mutation. A huge rose grew out from his mouth, eventually becoming a pollution source. It emits invisible magical power, affecting the emotions of the people around. Especially when they see someone they like, people become extremely enthusiastic. Through the camera on Xian's chest, Bing Han, who couldn't see the pollution source, only saw a man holding his wife tightly, maintaining the expression of his wide-open mouth, as if he were tearing his heart out before he died. She suggested to Xian to clean up pollution source by using special containment bags or burning the bodies. But Xian disagreed. He could see it. It was a rose growing out of the human body.